have 6 already? I don't have. All right, I'm calling the Village Board of Trustees meeting of May 12, 2025. To order, roll call, please.
Trustee Brochus.
Here.
Trustee Bratton. Trustee Parker. Here. Trustee Brooklyn.
Here.
Trustee Pomakowski.
Here.
Trustee Elevator. Here. President Lynch.
Here, please stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the village board on any issue. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes. The village board encourages input from residents that may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? Putting on,
Nope, everybody's muted.
okay. Go to the consent agenda. Upon request of any trustee, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration under general business. Anybody? All right. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved. I don't have anything to report because I'm sure Judy's gonna say what I was gonna say, and I'm not gonna steal her thunder. Yes. I got scolded last time, so I know. All right,
No, just
Vice
that,
President.
well, and I was not here for Trout Days, but I heard it was awesome. I heard it was one of the biggest turnouts, I feel like it. They did the groundbreaking for the pavilion and I heard it was awesome. So you can even add to it, Jake, because you were probably here. I wasn't.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was a good event. It was, you know, a little chilly and cloudy, but overall, there were a lot of families, which was really nice. And the wine walk went well, so I think it was a big plus for us, big plus. And next year will be even more exciting when we actually probably do the ribbon cutting for the bill, you know, so. That was good. No, it was a really good day.
Did we see the drone thing that we paid for, movie, or that thing?
I didn't see
It
that.
was-
And I saw the photographer there.
Okay.
Oh, the photographer.
Yeah,
Okay.
when are they gonna show it, do you know?
I don't know.
I mean, it was.
I would guess it'll take a while to process
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
they
saw
were-
him. He was every event I saw.
Yeah,
him.
he was up, they were out there.
Yeah, he was there all
I
day.
haven't, none of us have seen end product, and that's what we
No.
gotta make sure we see it and that we do
Right.
something. with it.
We did get photos. He provided some raw photos.
Oh,
Oh.
So we have a link for that. So I'll send that to you all so you can take a
Oh,
look
perfect.
at what they have so far. But yeah, it'll be a little while on the videography. So we'll have to wait for that, but.
Very good. Other trustee reports? All right, village administrator.
I don't have too much to report other than, I'm sure, I don't know if anybody has seen these flyers that are going around for the Memorial Day Chicken Barbecue. This year you can pre-order the chicken dinner, so they have this QR code. I have this and I can pass it around too. So that they're trying to do it where you can get a ticket ahead of time. So you don't have to wait as long to get your meal. So that was something that Shelby had mentioned to me when I met with her last week. But that's all I've got.
All right, very good. Village department heads or other reports, anything? All right, go to general business. Number 1, 2024 audit financial statements. We'll start with a presentation.
Is there anything?
Well, can you come, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess
Yeah,
that's-
we like, and if you could hit that
Yep.
mic, so it's easier for people on Zoom to hear. Thank you.
Do you want me to just jump in? Is there anything anybody wants to say first?
No, why don't you open up and maybe you'll answer if anybody did have questions.
So my name is Brett Hoffmeister. I think I've seen most of the faces here before. Audit partner with Johnson Block and Company, and just gonna go over some information about the draft audited financial statements. So we've provided this overview, and I'm really just gonna kind of go through the first couple pages of this, just to provide some high-level bullet points. We have the draft of the audit ready to go. And so if there are any specific questions about the draft, I'd be happy to go over them, but just really gonna go over more high-level stuff for the presentation, just to keep it brief, so you guys can keep your audit moving, or your meeting. So this first page here just kind of goes over the content of the audit report. So this is when you're looking at a set of audited financial statements, what you would expect to see for a government. Not only in Wisconsin, but just kind of generally when you're looking at a government's financial statements. So you've got your independent auditor's report, you've got your fund financial statements. So those are going to have your statements on individual funds. Those are kind of the part of a government's financial. So that's what your budget, the accounting basis matches your budget. That's where you see, your debt proceeds and your capital assets accounted for as revenue and expenses rather than balance sheet items. It puts the focus more on a shorter term, a current resources focus. So, it's really year to year based on your budget cycles. There's also a set of government-wide financial statements, which are full accrual. They report everything more in the aggregate by type, by your governmental fund type, by your business type. So that's your utilities. And like I said, those are full accrual accounting. So you've got long-term assets, long-term liabilities. Those fund statements are converted. That's followed by a set of notes to the financial statements, which contain significant accounting policies, details on significant account balances, and just provides more context and information about your financial statements. So those are kind of the main things that you see when you're looking at an audited financial statement. Some other reports that we help with the village, we help with the water utility PSC reports. That's an annual filing with the Wisconsin PSC. Just a regulatory filing, gives financial and statistical data to the PSC. That helps when you do rate changes. They look back at your historic information there and then projections moving forward. And then the DOR municipal financial report kind of reports the aggregate of the village's activity for the year to the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. That one, both of those have been already filed. The PSC report was due May 1st. DOR report's due on this Thursday, but we've already filed that one. And then accompanying an audit is a set of other communication letters. So we look at things, internal controls. We might look at, just informational comments. There'll be other things there, but there's usually several letters that accompany an audit. The first one is a communication that we're required to send to governance, which just kind of covers more information about the audit. It might provide information about any new accounting policies that were adopted. That's a very standard letter. There really isn't anything, of note in there. If we would have any issues, there may be noted in there, but nothing really noted in there for the village. As far as internal controls go, we typically have had a couple of findings for the village. One is we generally have some material audit adjustments just to help get everything into accordance with GAAP at the end of the year, generally separate accounting principles. And then generally, with smaller municipalities, there may be overlap of duties in some areas. So a lack of segregation of duties comment or finding, we have that in a lot of our audits. It kind of comes down to a resource allocation and having enough staff to properly segregate everything. Those are common findings that we have with smaller municipalities. And I think the main thing that at least the segregation of duties finding is included for is just to make sure that to help have awareness of that it is an issue. So additional, maybe not additional, but there should be that awareness that that's there, and if there are procedures. Yep.
Do they do dual control if they are? I mean, like, just so that they have backup in case something happens, do you feel good that they have backup in place if something don't happen to one of the employees?
Oh, yeah, I think there is cross training in place. That's always a risk in any small organization where if someone's out for an extended period of time, having to pick up that slack. But you know, Bobby probably will speak to it better than I could, but yeah, I think there is that in place. There's cross training, there's dual review of transaction. And then the only other comment we had was related to sewer rate adjustments. I know the board has approved, you know, reducing those sewer rates. The only thing there is just a recommendation to have Town and Country review those with whatever, you know, however that rate design is gonna change. To have that reviewed. They're the ones who did the original rate design. It was probably 2018, the last time the rates for the sewer were changed, from 2015.
In 2018, they just went from the quarterly to.
Oh, okay.
And that's been taken care of already.
Okay, so, and that was the only comment there. So then the next page is the key actual financial takeaways from the 2024 audit. So the first couple bullets are just discussing the auditor's report. We're in draft form now. I'm anticipating having it issued in the next week or so. I think the only thing we really have open is if there's anything to disclose related to activity in 2025, you know, things like awarding large contracts, issuing debt, you know, that's usually kind of the last things we do before we issue an audit report. But our report will be unmodified, so that means the financial statements are in accordance with GAAP. You know, there's no missing information, all adjustments have been made. Really, that's the highest level of assurance we can give in an audit, and it's a clean opinion is another way to state it. The page references on here in a couple spots are referencing to the actual draft, not necessarily this packet. But so some of the kind of key financial takeaways, looking at your general fund, your fund balance increased by about $425,000. Revenues were over budget by almost $350,000. Expenses were under budget by about $250,000. The over budget items, we've been seeing a lot of interest income, grant revenues, that have been kind of those unexpected things. You know, that's been a little more common with ARPA funds being used, with especially interest rates being high. Most places, and this is, we continue to recommend is, you know, budget conservatively for things like interest, because you never know what's going to happen with rates. Total fund balance at the end of the year is about $1.7 million. And of this, only about $15,000 is non-spendable, which that's the most, actually the least liquid category of fund balance. So you would have a lot of that fund balance tied up at non-spendable. It wouldn't necessarily be available for use, but your unassigned fund balance is kind of that first key indicator we look at when somebody asks us how's our financial health, how's our general fund doing. And the general fund, you know, that's your main operating fund, so that's the one we look at the most. But that has about almost 40% of 2025 budget expenses in your unassigned fund balance. So well within, you know, meeting and exceeding your policy. Any recommendation we would have would usually be 3 to 4 months, 20 to 25% in that unassigned number. So, you know, nothing to worry about there. And then one thing I like to point out is, of your cash balances on hand at the end of the year in your general fund, about $1 million of advanced tax collections. So that's money you've collected in December for your 2025 tax levy. I like to point that out because you look at your financials and there's a lot of cash on hand at the end of the year, and that's just because of that collection cycle. So you collect all that, you know, you settle with the county in January and February, and then you get a final settlement in August. So those tax collections really have to last until that next large payment comes in. Other funds were pretty, you know, nothing really significant to note. The one thing I would like to point out there is the TIF did have a fund balance at the end of the year, just over 50,000. So it's had a deficit going back 10 or so years now, probably. The increments finally kind of caught up with those initial outlays and debt payments. And, you know, because the TIF had to borrow money from, I think it was mainly the sewer utility and the general fund. All those advances have been paid off, so now the TIF is cash positive at the end of the year. For your utility operations, looking at your cash balances, water utility has just under $1 million in cash. Sewer has about 3.2 million. A lot of the sewer money is tied up in reserves and sinking funds for, you know, related to your clean water fund loans. But yeah, and along with that, both have fairly large debt balances. Water especially has increased the last 3 to 5 years, 6.6 million. Sewer has about 2.3 million, and think your final debt payments on your large loan are getting. They're probably due May
It's
first,
done,
right?
yeah.
Done,
Damn.
we're done.
Yeah.
Sewer plant's done.
So sewer, you know, a lot of that cash balance in sewer is restricted, but as, you know, your sinking funds, your restrictions will decrease as your debt requirements decrease, because that's the largest. One of your larger restricted balances is a debt sinking fund. Looking at the cash flows, really nothing, you know, significant or, worrying there from an auditing perspective. Water cash increased by about $276,000, mostly from operations, which that's what we would want to see, you know, that operating cash. Your operations are providing cash to cover your debt service, your whatever financing that you're doing there. There is a little bit of a mismatch between when we look at, you got about $1 million in debt proceeds versus $700,000 in payments for plant improvements. A lot of that was because built into that well project was a couple $100,000 in SCADA improvements for the wastewater treatment facility. So essentially the water utility borrowed money and then loaned it to the sewer utility to pay for plant that they put in. Right now that's shown as an interfund advance on the books, and the plan, I think, is to pay that off in the coming year with that drawdown of your debt sinking funds.
Actually, this is a great intro. I looked back in our budgets going back to like 2022, and we had, put into for the sewer, they're part of the SCADA, was supposed to come out of some restricted funds.
Okay.
So we don't need to use unrestricted cash for that. So I don't know if we need to bring that back for another approval or motion or.
I don't think so. As long as we approve that being spent, what fund it comes from, to me is.
I think it's showing to come out of the, like, the excess.
Right, so if we wanna put it out of what they're calling a restrictive one, that's fine, because that's supposed to be exactly for that, updating the. So we're fine, I think we're fine with that, and that's, to me, a finance director's call.
Yeah, like I said, it's been in the budget for the last couple of years to do
Yeah.
that, so.
Yeah,
All right, perfect, thanks.
Let's see, so, yeah, like I mentioned, water utility cash, no real concern there, cash flow wise. Sewer as well increased by about $400,000. A chunk of that was that final repayment from the TIF, paying down that last $100,000. There's the, you know, money essentially borrowed from the water utility for the SCADA improvements. Those were kind of some of the larger items there. Other thing to note for the water utility, the second step of those water rates that were approved a couple years ago now finally went into effect with the well being finished, the well projects. So, you know, I note on there that the rate of return from the PSC was about 2% for the last PSC report. So that's going to be, this first year is going to be low. Like that's kind of expected. That rate didn't get implemented until the second half of the year. We really have to wait until you get a full year of revenue coming in along with the related expenses to see where that target rate of return comes into effect.
I thought the target rate was 4%, not 4.9.
That's from the last tariff, so I'd have to double check. I thought it was still 4.9%, but I could be mistaken on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because that gets set.
That got set during they wanted my understanding again, they wanted a 4% rate of return, and that's why we had the 42%. So I thought the target then was 4%, not 4.9.
Yeah, and I could have that wrong.
No, like-
because the target rate, you know, that's. Yeah, it's really just kind of comparison, because they use that, I believe, for your. If you're looking at getting a simplified rate case, if you're under your target rate, you would be able to increase that. However, since you're in the, you know, you have to have a full year of rates in effect before you can use that simplified increase.
Right.
So
Can you do a regular rate case? Or you gotta wait the whole year also?
that I actually.
Well, I don't think that's gonna be a problem, because you're talking about this July, right? Didn't we do it last July where the rate came in? So we're talking about 2 months from now. I don't think we're gonna need to borrow anything big
Yeah.
the next 2 months, at least I hope so.
It might be a whole calendar year, like you have to go, like.
Oh, whatever it is, I'm not,
Fiscal year.
yeah.
So yeah, because your next borrowing for is probably gonna be another, are you gonna mains again, or is it gonna be?
No, it'll be a reservoir.
Mhm. So yeah, that would, I'm not sure how they would handle that, because then you're going off construction authorization, so they might just have you do another full rate case in that. Instance, I would imagine,
Yeah,
and whether or not that would. Change the rates, you know, because I have had clients go, the PSCs require them to come and do a rate case just to make sure the rates were still fine. And in some cases, they don't change rates, but I would imagine if you're having more borrowing, your rates would probably have to change again, so. And the final note that I have on there was just a note about your borrowing capacity, your geo debt capacity, you've had about 80% of that available as of the end of the year. And that's a combination of paying down your debt and just increases in the town or the village's equalized value. That debt capacity is a direct function of that equalized value there. And more of that's coming off. I know you've got some big borrowing coming up here for a couple different projects, but you know, as of right now, no concerns there. The rest of the packet, these are kind of the key highlights. So I wasn't gonna go through the rest of this. I know it's 12, 13 pages long. Unless anybody had any questions on this, any of the information here, it's just kind of comparative historical information. Or the draft itself. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions there.
anybody have any questions? All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, do I have a motion to approve or to accept? We should say accept the 2024 audit financial statements.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2024 audited financial statements.
I will second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So move. So when do you think the final will be done, the final?
We just, the last step is I sent over a management rep letter, we get that signed, get that back, and we can have a final out, so next week or so,
Oh, perfect. That'd be helpful. Thank you.
we will have that.
Well, thank you for coming in.
No problem, if there's any other questions that do pop up, just let me know.
Will do. All right, number 2, discussion of possible action regarding connection inspection proposals. Matt, you want to come up? Or are you handling?
I'm taking the lead, but.
Oh, okay, go ahead then, if you're thinking.
He can come up too if he wants to provide any backup. So I'll just kind of give an overview of this whole thing. So cross connection inspections happen basically when there's a connection between the safe drinking supply and like a non-potable source. So this happens in homes with like dishwashers or even like your garden hose. So any way that water can get back into the water system, like it's called backflow. So that's just kind of, just so you know what we're talking about here. So we received a letter from the DNR in 2024. So it was in June of 24, almost a year ago, stating that we need to have all of our commercial, industrial, and public authority facilities in Cross Plains inspected for cross connections. So public authority facilities would be like government buildings. And so they were giving us a deadline then of June of 2025. So they had some cross-connection inspection forms that I have in the packet too, if you want to take a look at what those would look like that need to be filled out. So basically, back when Jerry was still here, that was in March, he had looked to see what kind of folks in the area can provide that type of service to actually do those inspections. So we had found 1901, which is a mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire contractor that the village has used before to get kind of a quote just to see how much it would be to do those inspections. And so they came back with a 1-year contract. So that would include public authority facilities, commercial, industrial, and then it also preemptively included homes because homes are also going to be included in this kind of inspection rotation that the DNR requires. And we have not done this before. So this is the first time we will be actually implementing this inspection procedure. So with that preemptive 200 residential homes, it was $66,000. So when Matt came on board, I'm just trying to give you kind of a history of how this all transpired before we get to the real meat of the agenda item. So that was $66,000. The contractor would perform the inspections, and then village staff would have to schedule all of those inspections. So we were kind of like, well, there's got to be a better way to do that, because that's a lot of staff time, especially if you're including 200 residential homes a year. And so we did some research. I spoke with several communities, smaller communities throughout the state who use an organization called HydroCore. And so they are a group, the customer service representative that we had been talking to is actually in Wanakee, and they only do cross-connection inspections. So they also, in addition to doing the inspections themselves, they do the scheduling as well. They also do, I'll kind of go through some of the slides that they've provided as well. But they also do some of the kind of social media posting, just like making sure that people know what's happening, and also do the reporting for us, which is something that we wouldn't have gotten at all from the 1901. So I had just included a lot of different things in here. So the 1901 proposal is here, that total plumbing price. So if they took off the residential, it's $26,500 is their estimate. So that's just the ones that the DNR is requiring from us at this time. And then we go into the HydroCore. So I do have Jenny, she's on the call as well tonight, if there's any questions as we kind of get to the end of this. But this is just kind of, you can go, I won't really go through it I'll go through it pretty quickly, but it is available in your packet. Just kind of goes through what a cross connection is, what the common hazards are. So like I said, the garden hose, water softener discharge, restaurant equipment is also an area where there's the cross connection issues, fire sprinklers, chemical mixing systems, and janitorial closets. So just a lot of different things where the DNR is really cracking down. And so that kind of shows, when they're out there inspecting, what they might find and what they might recommend. So they would also help us kind of put together a program. So like how we would have this, they could also help us with an ordinance if we wanted them to. So they would help put that together for us preemptively, which would be very helpful. And then, just some of the issues. So like we said, we are in violation for the lack of implementing this program. And, they would help us by having their inspectors. They'll be having the administrative support, quarterly progress reports, annual DNR report. So everything's there. And then I just wanted to go through just the pricing. So, and then they do some public awareness support as well. So they'll put like flyers together and things on our behalf. And then they do the inspections notices as well. So they would take care of all the scheduling. So they would provide, the letter saying, you've been identified as, needing to have a cross connection inspection, and then how to schedule all of that as well. They also provide those violation notices. So if they come in and find that something's in violation, they'll take care of providing the documentation, and then follow-up documentation too if they still aren't getting in compliance. And then the reporting, which would be nice for us to be able to access as needed. So pricing. So for them, which is actually quite a little bit cheaper. So like I said, for 1901, it would be $26,500 for 1 year. And for HydroCore, they can offer a total cost of $20,335 over the course of 2 years. So they could spread that out over 2 years. Once Matt and I got digging into this a little bit further, we contacted the DNR and said we were serious about addressing this issue, and they gave us an extension. So we have until June of 2026 to get all of that taken care of. But basically, so, per our ordinance as it stands now, there isn't anything prohibiting us from passing this cost on to, those that need the inspections. And so that is also a potential, is that, you know, we could sign on to 2 years to do this, but then look into, passing that cost along to the industrial, commercial, facilities of that nature. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory. I don't know what questions everyone has, but ultimately we need to show the DNR that we're serious about this. We're committing, to getting these inspections taken care of. And that's what we're hoping we can do tonight.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Cameron.
Guess I'm confused on the residential piece, because it seems like it was a requirement and then not a requirement.
No, we are postponing it.
Yeah, yep. So
And
it's
we have
just
a
not,
couple that'll be coming back, the residential will be coming back, there's a couple
Mhm.
different options we have, right now. We need to get the commercial and industrial ones done, so tonight, we're just dealing with that.
Okay, and the 26.5 from 1901 did not cover residential
nope,
inspections.
nope, neither does
The
this.
HydroCorp one does not include residential inspections. That is
Correct.
An additional cost we're gonna have to figure out.
Well, there's different options that we're
Mhm.
talking about, so I don't wanna get into that, cause it's gonna confuse the issue. We pulled the residential out. And we're keeping the commercial industrial right now, because that's something that the DNR, and it's the highest risk for contaminating
That
your
makes
water
sense.
supply.
Yeah.
So we wanna get that
Mhm.
done. We have a year to do it. Once we get this settled, it'll be coming back. We've talked about, there's probably 2, 3 different options on how to deal with the residential.
Mhm.
Okay, and then I guess my other question is. I guess we received notice of non-compliance. Is it just because we didn't have like a program in place to be regularly inspecting these, or were there like complaints that led to the non-compliance?
I think it's just because we didn't have a program in, oh, Matt, go ahead. Wanna go up to the microphone?
They do a sanitary survey report, so they look for certain things that can contaminate water. Cross connection is one of them, meters, there's stuff at the North Reservoir that we have to correct, and so I think it's every 2 years they go through and do a report. And this is one of the big things that came up on the report.
Anybody else?
So eventually, we're gonna have to inspect every residential house in the village?
Yes, you have to do 200 a year or something like that. Again, people, if we wanna go down that rabbit hole, I'm more than happy to do it, but it's a long one. So I would just suggest we brought this back for industrial and commercial, we'll bring it back. You do it all at once, we're gonna there's gonna be some confusion, so. I would ask that you just be patient, but the answer is, yes, all residential, every building in Cross Plains has to be inspected. Residential, they give you 10 years to do them all. Then you start, you start over again.
Mhm.
So what do other communities typically do for the payment? Do they pass it on?
Yeah, so I had kind of reached out to like the WCMA Wisconsin City Management Association, and I had gotten some responses from a few communities, so Trempealeau, Cumberland, Mosinee, some smaller communities. One of them covered residential inspection and passed on the commercial inspection costs. Another one covered both. And then one had HydroCorp perform the inspection of the industrial and commercial, and then had utility staff perform the residential inspections. So that's, another option
So
down the
what
road.
we would have to do is set up an ordinance that we would be able to bill the businesses for this service, like
Mhm.
our water and sewer. And it'd probably be attached to that, to the water bill. So you'd have a third line, it'd be sewer, water, and then this inspection, if we go that route, but. Like I say, she named a couple routes right there, so
Mhm.
that would be how to do it. We need to pass an ordinance and then tack it on to
Mhm.
one of the bills. But the state allows you to do that.
It does.
And good evening, everybody. I know it sounds like most of the questions have been handled between Carly and the others in the room, but just a quick introduction. Oh, my camera's not on. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I'm Jenny with HydroCorp. Carly already kind of introduced me a bit, but like she said, I mean, I'm based local. I'm in Wanakee. But we're happy to help. I think the biggest thing as far as like the overall project is concerned and some of the issues that have already been brought up is that because this is kind of our mainstay in what we do, part of our consultation is talking through different things like that as well, as far as making sure you have a written plan. We have a lot of other communities that we work with that need to update their ordinance, whether it's for the commercial businesses or for residential. So we provide a lot of support with that as well. That's part of the program that we're putting together from a commercial standpoint. And in the future, if you need something from a residential side, we work with a lot of other communities on residential as well. So we can provide whatever kind of support you need from that standpoint to make sure everything kind of goes across in a good manner with public awareness. And so everyone kind of understands why this needs to be done.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think most of us are concerned about the residential just because, you know, especially passing on a cost, an additional thing on the water bill, right? I mean, that's like.
We don't have, again, let's,
Cover it later. I understand how it's scope right
Please.
now, but all
I'm
I'm
asking.
trying to say is why.
okay, there is an option,
members
there is
are-
an option that'll be free.
Okay, great.
All right, there's an option that we talked about that could be free.
For the, and then just, you know, for the industrial, you know, again, I don't think it's in the scope of this conversation, but like passing on the cost to them does make a little bit more sense to me, because I agree with you that the risk for, you know, this kind of thing would be higher in that, and usually pumping more water and all of that stuff.
I will make a motion to accept the HydroCorp bid for the cross connection inspection proposals.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
All right, we'll go to number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the 2025 appointed officials list. This is by ordinance. I think the ordinance is outdated, but the reason it's on this and not the consent agenda, I'm allowed to vote for the administrator's position appointment, even though it's in a contract. The other ones, I'm not allowed to vote unless there's a tie. So that's why it's on here. So basically, this is every odd year we have to, by ordinance, have to do this. So do I have a motion to appoint Carly as the administrator?
I will make that motion.
All right.
No second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same. Now, Bobby, just for your notes, I will not be voting on the rest of them. And does anybody have a problem with any of these, or can we just do them all at once?
Let's do them all at once.
All right, do I have a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve the appointed officials from clerk, treasurer, assessor, zoning administrator, building inspector, plumbing inspector, electrical inspector, village attorney, emergency management, weed commission, director of public works, and village engineer.
I'll second that.
Very good, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. So moved. All right.
I hope the mic's picking up my voice, because I saw.
Yeah, no,
Thanks, so I looked at all of those.
well, they're on the chart there, so I made it pretty easy. All right, number 4, discussion regarding 2024 Wisconsin Waterworks Excellence Project and Report Cards.
Yeah, so I can kind of give an overview on this. So Jay had come across an article, I think it was in the newspaper, right? About this project that came out of UW-Madison. So they are water utility report cards that were conducted for, I think it was about 570 different water utilities throughout the state of Wisconsin. So they basically used data that's already available through the DNR and the PSC to develop this scoring system and create these report cards. So what I have provided here, they did one for Cross Plains, and they divided the categories into 4 different areas. So they had the water quality health. So that's kind of how well does the utility eliminate harmful contaminants from drinking water and keep the drinking water safe. So we scored very, very highly at 98.9 there. And then the infrastructure and operations was another category. So this is about, the pipes, the distribution of the water, water leaks, water main breaks. Are we adequately replacing aging pipes? Is the utility energy efficient? So we got a 77.2 there, just based on all of the data that was used. And then finance got a B rating. So this is about financially sound and sustainable. Our service price is fair and affordable. I don't have like too much further detail than what's kind of listed here. And then communications, is the utility transparent and interactive with its customers? So this is a little bit lower as well. I think it was because of social media presence. So some water utilities have a social media presence that's active and a website, which wouldn't,
Just the water.
yeah, which wouldn't necessarily make sense for a community of our size. The full report, I think I included in the packet as well. So if you want to take a look a little bit more, here's a little bit more about what the grades mean. So yeah, I think still the communications, it looked like it was, websites, use of social media, communication by telephone, email, and public meetings. So we just wanted to provide that so everyone had a chance to look at it. I don't know if you want to provide anything else, Jay?
Yeah, this was done,
By
by a
UW.
UW professor, yeah, so this was free, and when I read it, I thought, God, it'd be nice to see what we did. Now, I think the infrastructure to me is too narrow scope. They're looking at just replacing pipes and when they break. I think if they would have thrown in age of well and, updating your bigger infrastructure, I think we would have came up way high. But anyways, I thought it was interesting, and it gives us a baseline. And they're looking to possibly do this as a ongoing thing through the state itself, so.
I was happy to see our water quality.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely, it was really and when you look at what's in there, it's really,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. I thought it was interesting,
Yeah.
so I'm glad Carly tracked it down, because there was the article, but it didn't have Cross Plains, obviously, and they did Madison, Winona, Pittsburgh, they kind of broke it down, so. But no, so kudos to our public works for us to have a quality water system, very important.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, we'll go to discussion and possible action regarding the purchase of a trench box.
So I've been here for a little while now, and one of the things I've done is gone through with the staff and kind of talk to them to see how they feel on some stuff we have, what we could use, and what we can start working towards getting. One of the things that came up was the trench box that they have is no longer legal. One of the times they used it, they got a puncture in one of the sides, which takes it out of commission. So for them to go in any trench bigger than 5 feet deep, which all our water main sits at 7 to 8 feet deep, we would need a trench box to be legal by OSHA and state officials. I've got a few quotes up there. I recommend going with Kendall. They were very communicative with me. They were easy to talk to on the phone. Unfortunately, all of them are either 8 to 12 weeks out. So I have a United rental on there. He gave me an 8-week rental fee if we want to just keep it on hand for $4,000. And then I called K&K to get a trailer. I'd like to have a trailer set up with everything we would need on it, so we can be a little more efficient on getting to breaks, making sure we have everything in one spot and what we need, and getting the water on and off and on a lot more. The big thing is the trench box, we need that hands down. The trailer, not as big a deal, can always wait, but it's, again, the ease and mobilization and.
All right, I just got a couple questions. I did a little searching on the internet. Since I like to learn on that. So I saw one company, I don't know a lot about trench boxes. I really know nothing about it, to be honest with you. But there's one company that you can buy, just like you said, one of ours were punctured. Can't you just replace that one side of it?
So Miller Bradford, they have what they call build-a-box. And unfortunately, right now, the trench box we do have is only 5 feet tall. So it'd only be good up to 6.5 feet, so that really doesn't do us a lot of good to begin with.
So it's not just because it's damaged, you want to get a larger one.
I'd like to get one that's a little safer for the guys to be working.
Okay, so that option's out. So then I saw Soldier Grove.
Yeah.
I don't have Facebook, so I can't, but it showed that on Facebook Market, Soldier, the village or whatever, the city, they're selling 2 of them for $4,000. Now, obviously, I couldn't go on and see what they look like.
Yeah.
Did you check used ones at all?
Given that in my conscience, I'm putting a staff employee in a hole.
Yeah.
That's not something I want to say, hey, trust your life with this used piece of equipment that we're not 100% sure about. I'd rather get it from the manufacturer, everything's new, ready to go, and safe.
But you know it's gonna be used as soon as you dig the first trench. Right, I mean, it's basically 2 pieces of steel or aluminum with 4 bars connected, so it doesn't crush.
But I don't
You
know.
don't comfortable looking at one to see if it's,
No, you don't know how hard that backhoe has been hitting on that to kind of push it down another
Yeah.
6 to 8 inches. That's just something I'm not all that comfortable with, you know, telling a guy, yep, go ahead, it's safe. That's not, for this instance, that's not.
well, but you're not gonna be looking to replace this every year then.
No, this is.
So, okay,
Yeah, this is hopefully a one-time purchase, that we can have for years, so.
so my last comment is gonna be that, I have no problem with bringing a trench box up here. Cause that's an immediate need. And even the rental, if you think that's cost effective to do that. But the trailer to me is not an absolute, and that should follow the budget process. Otherwise, we're gonna set a precedence where everybody's gonna come here with individual items, and it's not fair to weigh things once everything comes in, so. I'm probably, just so you know, gonna split this from the trench box and the trailer as separate. Cause that's my feeling, that we shouldn't be bypassing the budget process.
But then you can put the trailer in the budget.
Well, yeah,
In the budget time.
Cameron?
Yeah, like, I guess I understand what you're saying, but like I mean, the case for the trailer seems pretty good, like they want it there, loaded, ready to go, and if there's a water main break, they can respond quicker. You know, we have fresh eyes now in the department, you know, we didn't know that there was that, you know, possible gap when Jerry, you know, so I don't know, to me, the trailer could be more of an emergency thing.
The other thing for the trailer is the trench box is more or less gonna need a backhoe or mini hoe to lift it on and off the trailer. So once we get it on the trailer, essentially it'll only be getting off the trailer when it's being used.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
How many, the thing is, it's not used every day, so it's gonna sit for a long time. Government's gotta get efficient. I mean, most individuals don't buy a trailer for every job that they have, just.
For
So
trench
it's-
boxes, more or less communities, I know Middleton, I worked there for a fact that it stays on the trailer, ready to go, just cause. You know, it's a 1,300-pound kind of awkward thing, we don't have backhoes and our skid steers gonna maybe be barely big enough to get it off the trailer. for whatever trailer we use.
Right, like I said, Middleton, again, comparing, we don't have nearly the number of breaks and things that they work on. Again, I'm just speaking, I'm telling you, it's gonna open the door where we're gonna get lots of budget requests on this, and I think we can hold, we're gonna start the budget process next month. So, I mean, we're not that far away that we can't go and do it through the regular process, and if this is 8 weeks away anyways, we're into August already.
Do you currently have a trailer or a current trench box? Or is it
It's sitting on a trailer that is not usable. So.
Well, you just had a broken main, what was it, a couple weeks ago? How'd you get the box there?
It did not go there.
You didn't use a trench box?
We didn't have one, and it was my second day on the job, and they just did it. This is why I'm here. This is why
Oh.
we're,
That's
Been a
not
long
good.
time.
this is why we're at the point we are. This is why I want everything set, ready to go, so the guys know. You hook onto that, and that goes to the hole.
I'm gonna say I'm completely fine with buying the boat at the same time.
Well, okay,
Well, I got one other question, I guess, just,
Cameron?
you had said Middleton has more water breaks, I'm sure you're right, but I mean, I feel like I see on Facebook frequently that we have one, can anyone tell me how many we've had in the last year?
We have 6 patches that need to be done this year alone.
Okay, so that's like, they're not broken yet,
No, they
Those
broke.
are-
They
those are-
broke the patch.
Those
So
are the
there's-
gravel patches in the road.
got it, okay.
So
okay,
there's been 6 that,
okay. Have happened recently-ish,
well, since they probably do it when they bring that.
Average 8 to 12 a year, depending on the year, so.
8 to 12.
that one was fun.
Yeah.
And that, especially when you're talking about a water main break, that's living with 3,000 seems pretty reasonable, like the 8 weeks though, and that you're right. By the time
It's not that I'm opposed to it, I'm opposed to not following the process.
Yeah, this.
And
seems
when,
emergency
if the
enough,
chief
so.
comes up next month with something, and then the library comes up, what is your justification to say, no, we should follow the process?
Well, then we just vote against it. So
Well, but
I make a motion that we purchase the trench box. I'm gonna say from Cundall, is that where you
Yeah.
wanted it? From Cundall, along with the trailer.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second discussion. I will be voting against it just because of the trailer. Go ahead, Bill.
Do we want to add United Rental into that motion?
I would do that instead of the trailer for sure. So we have a legal box here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a secondary motion on top of the motion that we add the United Rental for $4,182.02 for 8 weeks.
All right, so we have amended motion. So we'll do that first.
I need a second.
Oh, yeah, I need a second.
I'll second
All right, anybody else? So now on the amended motion, we have a motion and a second, any discussion?
I have a question. Once you purchase this, do you know how long it's gonna take to arrive?
I think Kendall was 8 to 10 weeks out.
Oh, it was.
Yeah. And then, the United rental one, we can just go pick up from that.
So you don't have that one current,
No,
could you put that on the trailer and have it ready to go for the 8 weeks, and then when the.
I'd have to talk to United Rental on exactly how,
Okay.
if they have their own trailer,
Or it
that's,
might come with one.
yeah,
Oh,
it might,
Okay.
All right. Take a roll call vote on the amended motion.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Michael.
Do you feel we need to do this rental?
if a break comes up during the regular work week, we could probably go and get it. If they have one on hand, it might take an hour to run and go get it and come back. But if it happens on the weekend or holiday or something, we wouldn't be able to get one.
So this 4,000 is to have it on site for 8 weeks.
Yep.
And otherwise you could go and rent it for a day or two.
You could, yeah.
But you're taking the gamble that if it happens the beginning of Memorial Day weekend, you're not gonna be able to get that water main fixed until.
But is it possible to have an agreement with Black Earth that we could use theirs? Or aren't you comfortable with looking at Black Earth?
It's possible, that's not something I reached out to Black Earth, cause again. Very low probability that it'll happen at the same time, but they would obviously take theirs over London's ours.
Right, but I guess, I think what people are saying, is there another option than spending the $4,000 on a rental and just having it sit there for 8 weeks and not do anything? Or we have a deal with Black Earth that, hey, if we have this crisis, we have a break, can we borrow your trench box for fixing it?
The only thing I would really say to that,
Or Middleton?
if we do puncture it or whatnot, at least then we're covered by the rental, that we wouldn't have to buy our own and buy Black Earth or Middleton.
Those seems like really long shots.
How would it get punctured?
A tooth of, an excavator, or a fork on a skid steer, just, that's usually how they get punctured. Or damaged.
Does it have an off? I'm just curious.
I can't say but I
Just curious.
yeah.
I mean, the one we have is
The one-
not staying. But when did that happen? Who knows?
I'm saying the new one may last for a year, so it doesn't sound like it happens a lot.
Yeah.
So don't we get most of our water main breaks during the spring when there's a thaw in the ground, or does it not matter?
That's when the majority tend to happen, but with the soil we have, we had one 3 weeks ago up on Continental, so it can essentially happen anytime.
Okay.
So do you think there's another municipality we could get coverage for 8 weeks? Versus spending 4,000?
I can call around, to Black Earth or Mazo, or I don't think Middleton will lend us theirs, but I mean, it's something we can have for a backup as long as they know we have something on the way to get us through something.
Could we ask at fire board tomorrow?
Say it again.
Could we ask after the meeting at fire board tomorrow, of some of the neighboring municipalities?
They would know, you have to,
Sure.
he has to contact the public works director.
Yeah.
That's who usually does this.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's, we help each other. I mean.
Yeah.
When we had the tornado, they all came with their chippers and helped and stuff like that, so. Again, this is not something, in my opinion, that, we could go the whole week, and. To me, if you read any of these, we should really be sharing resources too. I personally don't think every community needs a trench box. We should be able to share them. And it saves everybody a boatload of money, because it's just gonna sit there, like you say, we have 8 to 10 a year, so. We're spending that money, and maybe Black Earth has 8 to 10, so now we're talking about 20 days out of 365. Could there be the odds of both of them happening at the same time? But I think the odds are pretty much against it, but that's another whole different topic, but I think. Governments need to start working together and helping out on these costs, because like, we're gonna invest 10 grand for something that's gonna sit outside for 355 days
I
probably.
mean, the other option to not renting would also be contacting a company to say, hey, if we have a main break, how much would it cost you guys to come in and repair it for us?
It's probably expensive.
That's the gamble of
If only
if
have
it
it
doesn't
once, it would
happen.
be less than 4,000.
Yeah.
Does Dale have trench boxes? No,
Not, they have 20-30 foot trench boxes, not 6-7 foot. trench
oh.
I'm gonna say, I think I've been persuaded that we could probably skip the rental and try to borrow, but I do think the $10,000 investment to have one on hand so we can quickly respond to a water break is a good investment.
And again, just to make it very clear, it's not that I don't agree with the investment,
You're just,
it's
you
the
just,
process.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, so we have the motion for amendment, which would be to add the rental, the 4,000 for the rental. So we're gonna vote on that first. Roll call vote.
Trustee Borcar,
No,
trustee Brochus,
No,
trustee Paul Mikowski,
No.
trustee Borland,
No,
trustee Calvater,
No,
president Langford.
No. All right, so now we're back to the original motion. Roll call vote.
Trustee Borland,
yes,
trustee Calvater,
yes,
trustee Borcar,
yes,
trustee Brochus,
yes,
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
president Langford.
No. All righty. All right, discussion regarding the cost estimate update for the new village hall and police station.
That's me. All right, so, we wanted to give you all an update of where things are at with the Village Hall project. So we had our last core planning group meeting, so that's a smaller group of us. So it's a lot of staff, so me, Bobby, Becky, Chief, Tony, and then Jay as well is on the core planning group for the Village Hall. And our last meeting was on April 25th, so we got some cost estimates, we've got or updates, we've got some different renderings, some more interior renderings as well, and so we just wanted to share those with all of you tonight. So this is just the site plan, an updated version of the site plan. You'll see this again later as we talk about the landscaping as well. And then they just included some of the products that they're planning to use. So this is that kind of the fake wood paneling that you see in the renderings as well. And then this is kind of, it's more of a tan than a white. It was kind of showing up as white in some of the renderings initially.
the outside.
Yep, these are exterior. Yep, exterior materials. And then, so they just provided some new kind of renderings for us as well. So this, like I said, is more of a tan. It's kind of hard to see when you look on a screen versus actually seeing the materials, but I think we still even have some of the rock back there, the stone back there. And then they kind of introduced some of the lettering this time around. So Village of Cross Plains, Village Hall and Police Department. So just kind of bringing that to life a little bit here. And then just from another angle, so you'll see it's pretty steep back here, kind of going back down to having the 2-story on the other side. And then this is kind of this is the pavilion kind of off of the trail. So this is we did submit a grant for this specific part of the parcel itself and the restrooms as well. Kind of what they're envisioning so far. Just from a different angle. And then just showing, how you'd get into the restrooms, what that would look like. And then just a rendering of the back side of the building too. You see some more of those two-toned elements too. And then, yeah, they just kind of showed us too some of the other materials, the interior materials that they're planning on. So these are like the carpet samples and wall, the paint they'll use on the wall and things like that. So they're trying to keep those earth tones that everyone seemed to really like. And then they showed us too, like kind of what an office might look like and what the accent wall would look like and things like that. So just starting to kind of envision some of the interior spaces. This would be if you were coming in, this would be kind of the front desk. So this would be like the lobby space. So police would be here. And then where we're looking from would be the community room. So that's what they're envisioning right for that. These were some renderings of Becky and Renee's desks. So they would be behind glass and then able to come up to the front counter as needed. And then this would be the community room. Mike Axon told us that we need to make sure the water's included here, otherwise it just looks like a kind of a half circle. So that graphic will get adjusted, of course. And this would be the report and briefing room for the police department. So you come up in these stairs and then they have that open concept as well. And then they're looking at locker rooms, kind of, we're thinking about getting rid of this wall itself here, but. And then the garage. So those are just kind of the interior renderings that we were given a couple weeks ago. So we wanted to share those with you. And then, oh, I guess there is one more. Sorry about that. This is just the break room, a rendering of the break room as well. But I did want to bring up, so one thing that we did talk about at that meeting was focus on energy and the different bundles that were proposed. So basically they went back so focus on energy helped or worked with Wold to come up with several different options for the energy for this building. So if you want it, so they kind of looked at here, you can kind of see some of the more specific numbers with electric consumption, gas consumption, solar versus non-solar. And then we also looked into geothermal as well. So basically upfront geothermal is about $450,000 more. So that would be the projected upfront cost if we were to go with geothermal. And then he did talk about, Matt was talking about the perceived benefit of the reliance on gas versus electric. And so, I mean, ultimately you'll be spending more on electric consumption in that model as well. And so the payoff is a little bit longer. But we did spend a lot of time talking about the solar versus non-solar and how that kind of plays into it all. So when you initially, what they're estimating is $25,000 to bring in the solar initially. But then the savings on utilities is estimated to be around $5,000 a year. So kind of ultimately out of that conversation, the solar seemed to be the more obvious choice. But that was what was presented to us. I don't know if you want to chime in on any of that, Jay?
No, I mean, it's not really one or the other. But when you look at the cost efficiency and the payback, solar is much higher. And it's really, as Carly said, the geothermal is really to move you off of natural gas into electric. So, but the price tag, in the next slide, you'll see why I'm not sure we can afford it, since that's another $450,000. And if you look at the next slide, you can see how the price has gone up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow what SD and DD was then, so but that's the geothermal or non-geothermal?
Wait, where are you looking?
If you look at,
No, but on the slide you were on, the month.
This one?
Yes, that one,
Yep.
SD budget, DD budget. No idea what those meant.
Oh, site development and design development budget.
Okay.
So back in January, we had an initial project estimate cost. So they do, as part of Wold's process, they do kind of an initial, as you're doing the design
that's
phase.
part of the contract,
Yeah.
2 cost estimates.
And so that was back in January. And then now that we're getting our construction documents ready to go, that's when they do another cost estimate. So that's where we are today. We're about 1.1 million over what we were back in January.
Which was already
Substantially higher.
over than what we were originally.
Okay,
I don't
we're-
follow data, but we were.
We are going to have to look at finding savings, there's no doubt. And we are already looking at now the only, I don't want to say positive, but there's the window is, I don't know how accurate the cost estimates are, because we haven't really given detailed information to base it off of. So we ended up getting two different companies' cost estimates and they were different, but I'm just gonna use one of the examples there. So the lockers, we have 10 lockers for the officers. In one bid, they have them at $800 a piece for 8,000. The other company has 10 of them at $3,500 each, at 35,000 plus 10,000 to install plus another 7,000 for profit. So you're talking about apples to oranges really, and what we are planning to do. In the next 2 months, we will be handing, and one of them you'll see tonight, the next item. Is we'll be talking about, we're starting to lock in what we want, and then we'll get true estimates and hopefully, knock on wood, they go down.
Mhm.
Cause I think some of them were using Cadillac views. And some of them, these are also built in, was it a 4% inflation and something else in there, so. You know, you're not gonna really know what the cost is until we send it out to bid, but the important thing is that our bid document is accurate on what we really want. So we get a true cost to it, and there's things we can do to bring the cost down. So we're talking about that right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. 8.7 million is probably out of our range.
Yeah.
Bill?
So is there a, floor plan already set up for
A
the,
what?
a floor plan?
Yes.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yes, we did it, it was done under closed session for security reasons, but
Okay,
you can have it as long as you understand, you can't spread it and show it around.
100%.
Okay, I just want, I mean, a lot of things we give you, you can go ahead and show people, but that, I just wanted to let you know, that was done in closed
Okay.
session.
But I can provide that to you, Bill. Happy to do it.
Yeah, just throw it in that folder. And then just out of curiosity, is there a holding cell for the police?
Yes, there's hard interview room, they call them, we don't really have holding cells. You have to staff it 24/7 if you have
Oh,
if you lock someone in a jail. We have, they call them hard interview rooms.
okay. Thank you.
I have one question.
Go ahead, Michael.
On the focus on energy thing, when it talks about the solar size of 110 kilowatts, is that the whole roof? Or would you don't know how much of that?
That's- This is what we're talking about. I'm with you on the
I
same
wasn't
thing.
sure how much.
I think it's the majority of it. I remember at one point seeing kind of a rendering of what they would look like laying on.
I think that was just to look for the rendering. I don't know. We were having a meeting with them Thursday.
Yeah, I'll put
where
it down
we're going
to
through
ask.
all of this because you're right, we have to be on the same.
Just curious. I don't know.
It seems if it's the whole roof for 25,000, that's a hell of a good deal.
Yeah, I say that.
I don't think.
I don't think they're that cheap. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
but this is where I'm talking about with these estimates, while they're there, I'm not sure, but we have to do things, and you'll see in the next item that we have to try to bring down, the cost of this.
Right.
And I think the timeline is not gonna be possible. But I could be wrong.
What timeline, sorry?
This
The
is,
next page.
yeah.
Oh, got it, sure. Okay.
So-
There's no way we're
yeah,
gonna be
we're
ready.
done
by
with
July.
design development and then now they're working on the construction documents. So these were the estimates, these May estimates. And then they're supposed to be getting additional estimates and then. So, just a rough timeline.
I don't think we'll make the June, I don't think next month we'll have everything approved, because in the June meeting right now, you're gonna get drafts of things that we're gonna send out for bid, so I don't see the timeline, but we'll talk with them, this is the original one, that's fine, but it's unlikely this is gonna happen.
But that's what I've got for that item.
We don't have costs with the different bundles that the center energy provided and whatnot.
Well, that's one thing, you're right, no, we should know what the reef Yeah, I'm assuming there's still one, you know, when I did it for Midtown, you know, I got 25 grand back.
Right, you're
For
good.
being in Visual too.
Yeah.
Bundle
I can
two.
ask them to send just all of the
Well,
materials that they got, like with the bundles from Focus on
but
Energy.
I think within the bundle to changes too, so we just have to ask.
Yeah, we'll ask, like, we're meeting with him on
Good.
Thursday, so.
Yeah, because like you say, if you expand your solar, you should end up getting more back.
Yeah.
Just- If, I don't know, like I say, we just have to ask.
Yep, we'll get more on that.
Right, and I guess with the building the size of it, looks like the solar's producing more than, say, the geothermal would use, or what the heating system would use. They have an estimate on what the whole building would use in terms of electricity.
Well, we did that already, we
know what the.
Well, we did it, you do an estimate, that was brought up,
I mean,
January, February meeting, I think, when we looked at the additional cost of a new building. Didn't we, wasn't that the board that finance put together? We did brought that to the board.
Finance, yeah, Michael's looking more focused on energy and estimate.
Right.
They knew the size, I think we just kind of took what the library was using, because it was close to the same size at finance, like what.
Oh, I see what you're
Like,
saying.
like what they're like.
I thought we took from here then.
No, I think we just
Expanded it
the
out.
library, I think we just estimated on.
Okay, well, yeah, you were on finance, you
Yeah,
got
I
that.
think we just took the library.
All right.
So this is what utilities are gonna cost, because they're close to the same. Which we could just do that again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, anything else on this? Otherwise, we'll move on. All right, number 7 is actually the first part of this. Is Mike on?
No, he's not.
Oh.
I'm gonna kind of try my best. He was not able
I
to
can
tonight.
help you
Okay,
then, 'cause
perfect,
We talked about it, yeah.
perfect. Yeah, he said you would probably know most of this. So I kind of introed the landscaping plan earlier. So we received as part of, so Wold works with, I think it's JSD, thank you.
Yeah.
With JSD, and they provided an initial landscaping plan for us, which had thousands and thousands of different varieties of plants, of trees, of, you know, these very intricate native prairie spaces, all of which require a lot of upkeep. And we have Dane, our forester, and he could spend probably, you know, a lot of his time on the job working on this building specifically. So what was done was Dane and Mike met and tried to figure out areas in which we could kind of revert to grass. So you'll see there's still a lot of areas in here that are still going to be a lot of different plugs and things like that. But the red, so all of the red that's kind of drawn in here would be grass. And they do have a specific type of grass that they would want to purchase. And that kind of line around the parking lot is to provide a buffer as well. So that would provide, you know, ample space for runoff from the parking lot. But that's kind of what I know. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, a little bit more. So their original plan, Mike took to one of his friends that is a landscape engineer, and he looked at it and said,
Yeah.
this is fantastic, but it's the Cadillac, it's probably gonna cost you $350,000 to do that landscaping. Well, that's too much. I mean, we need that saving. So I asked Mike, okay, what can we do to bring down the price? So just an example, when you look at the top, go down a little bit,
Yeah.
that kind of the blue. The
Yep.
blue area, they had over 900 plugs
There.
in there, 9,000 plugs. Imagine buying those
And
and then having to pay someone to do it. So there's another option, you can get the same thing, it's gonna take a little longer, you seed it. And then you do it. So what this is doing is trying to bring it down. How much it's gonna bring down, I'm hoping it's gonna be in the 100 to 150,000 range. But anyway, so this is what we're asking you to take a look at this, and if you're okay with it, the reds would be basically grass. And then the greens and stuff would be more your natural type cover in it. And I didn't look at the details, so I don't know if they were looking to do the back part, seed, is that what?
The water retention.
Yeah.
area. He said that staff would still recommend plugs.
Oh, okay.
He said, yeah, kind of a swale. I don't know exactly
Well,
what that
no, no,
means.
that's fine, we can keep it that way, but again, you know, to me, if it's getting furniture for staff or putting in plugs versus seating, I'll take the furniture for staff. You know what I mean? But we'll try to recalculate this and see what happens.
Right.
Does Middleton High School still have a horticulture? Like, some class? I wonder if they take this on as a project,
To what, to seed it?
to seed it or? decorate
Well, we
it?
would want the company to seed it now, the maintenance part would be something they could do, help with. We got a you know, group there that would come
A
out.
long, long, long time ago, there was such a thing while I was there. I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know.
I mean, we could check.
Maybe
What's
this
our-
is-
The other thing in there, if you notice, it's hard to tell, but there's like a walkway, there's a walkway at the back of the parking lot, you have a walkway to the trail and then steps to the trail. It's gonna be one bridge or path across the culvert. We're not doing all that. That's just, one, we don't want steps because that would just take a lot of staff time to shovel steps and to maintain
Well,
that.
accessibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyways, we're hoping that's gonna bring that part of the project down a little bit, and the bridge or the pedestrian crossing was included in the grant that Mike and I wrote.
Yeah.
So what we're looking tonight is approval of this, so Thursday, we can say to them, this is what we want changed. You know, what is that, what kind of savings is that gonna be?
Right.
Yeah,
The trees that are in the back of the building by the creek. Are those trees that are already there, or are they, no, not those, the ones being.
yes, no, and those are not even near the creek.
Okay, but.
There's the waterway, the railroad tracks, the park, and then the creek. So no, these are additional trees.
These are the trees, okay.
If you notice, a couple weeks ago on a Wednesday, staff went in and cleared out, junk trees that were at the back of the lot in front of this, where you see the two other trees. Those were taken out
Okay,
by us. We're just trying to save money wherever we can.
Great.
You'll see a big pile of chips there.
Yeah.
Cameron?
So in general, I'm good with, you know, where the red is for grass, I think that's fine. I would also think, I mean, we get a lot of really pretty native flowers and all that stuff, you know, so especially that back area is, you know, a bit more wild, like, a bit more wild isn't necessarily not pretty in Wisconsin, especially by a creek, right? You know, I mean, like the field behind, well, my house and Sarah's house right there, like, it's really pretty many times a year with all the flowers and stuff that grow there. So, you know, we wouldn't, I would say we would think we would need plugs for very specific plants or whatever. The one thing I would say is we should the trees, we should maybe not skimp on just because there isn't a lot of shade cover.
No, we
Yeah.
agree with that,
Yeah,
but what Mike and I talked about, this is the plan. But if we can't get the trees in the first year,
Sure.
maybe we plant, if we can save 20 grand. Again, you know, trees you can put in the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need to be part of the bid.
Yeah,
It's true, I just, that
Yeah.
area over there, you know,
Yeah,
the
and that's
fire
what-
station doesn't have a lot of trees, you know,
No.
or whatever, so it's and if we want people to be using it with bikes.
Right.
and all that
No,
stuff, we're gonna want some shade.
we're just trying to come up with ways that we can reduce the amount of the bid.
But other than that, yeah, the grass, like just normal grass seems reasonable for sure.
Go ahead, Michael.
So that's what this is what the proposal is, wherever it's red, it isn't any of the trees or whatever they bought, it's just gonna be planted with grass.
Well, you're looking at this whole plan, right? So the approval to do is go with this, but if we need to do cost cutting, we'll do that, and you'll be informed on it, but right now, we're trying to this is what we want it to look like.
Okay, but I guess my question is
Okay.
like down there by the bike thing, I mean, it says there are plants gonna be there, we go to red, so is it just gonna be grass there, like whatever the landscape put in there, that's gone, is what my question is. Well.
Like he's
right-
wondering
yeah,
if-
Right there, yeah.
If
like,
this tree will still remain, or if because it's red, it's canceling out the tree.
Yeah, that's what my
Oh.
question.
No, it's
Oh.
showing, it's still gonna be a tree.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, it's just the gray
It's
grass
just
around it.
If you look, well, you
Okay,
didn't
so-
have, that, you didn't have the before,
So what
after.
is- so what is
Everything was green before, all of that was all prairie.
Oh, that was all gonna be planted in prairies,
Yes,
oh,
Which
Yeah.
is very meticulous to
That's-
maintain.
that's what we tell.
yeah, I'm sorry, that wasn't clear. Yeah, if you saw the first one, there was no red. And I made the mistake of bringing the prairie up to the parking stall, and those tall plants then go like this, and then cars go underneath, and people were complaining, there was scratching the hoods and stuff like that. So I originally started, we've gotta have that buffer.
So it's a 10-foot buffer is what
Yeah.
Mike's saying.
So we did that, but then when he saw the plan from JDS or
JSD.
JSD and took it to his friend, and it was 350,000. That,
Cause it was all. gonna be-
Yeah. yeah. So this is the first step of trying to bring down that 8.7 million.
Right, yeah. So all that would have to be both.
Well, yeah,
So
I
you
mean,
need-
some of it you could probably let get tall, you know, maybe mow it 3 times a year. I don't think it has to be groomed. Especially the part along the parking lot, you just wanna make sure that the plants are backed off a little bit. So, you know, it's no different like in my property, my trails, I do them once a month. You don't have to do them every week.
So you looking for a motion? in it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what does it need to say? 'Cause it's a-
The motion would be to accept this landscaping plan.
I'll make a motion to accept the landscaping plan for the new Village Hall Police Department.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I just.
Go ahead, Mike.
I don't know if this is concerning that picture, I know it's a landscaping plan. But it's something I noticed, in front of that building, when you come out, there's a horizontal sidewalk that goes parallel to the building right there.
Right here?
You go up closer to the building, like right in front of it,
No, right, yeah.
right there, just there and there, that sidewalk. And there, I noticed on the schematics, the one on the right is gone, but the one on the left is still there. Is that gonna be there, or we just want them to use the sidewalk in front of the parking, in front of the
No.
parking stalls?
No, this is the handicap. And then this is the sidewalk from the exit of the community room.
Okay, if that's how they're drawing, but just in the schematics that were earlier, there was
Oh.
actually a connection right across from the sidewalk into the building, and another handicap one wasn't there. It was just something I noticed, so I was like, man, there's a lot of concrete here in the front. Like if you go down, yeah, I don't know if it's there, is it on there or not?
it's the same one.
So if you go down though, it's like how it looked, like right there.
Oh, don't,
See?
yeah, no,
Like I
no.
was like.
Yeah.
See, they were kind of going right across. like,
No,
if you
no.
look Going right across, why do you have the one in front?
That's just a rendering.
Okay, well, is this?
The person who did that probably didn't even see the, yeah, it's intended to look at the building, don't look at the sidewalk and stuff. Cause that one has no handicap.
Yeah, there's nothing over on the other
Yeah.
side.
Right there, there's a little ramp and then to the right, right.
Yeah.
there.
Where's the- Well, that's a hill, there's no way that makes
Yeah.
handicap. You can only have a 2% grade.
Yeah, that'd be a fun ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I that's a rendering, don't look at, yeah. No. Just like that is not how it's gonna be either.
They just threw it together.
Yeah, but you can see there's no sidewalk to the bathroom.
Yeah, how do you get there?
But the colors on there are supposed to be representative of the colors. that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
in-
And the design of the rendering is for the building. Yeah.
So one other, just quick, I know we're in this motion,
Yeah.
but there's a custom color for the fiber cement panel, that's the gray, that's like the top or whatever, they're going with a custom color on that, like, that's what it said on, was it page 150? Like right there, see in the middle, it says Cedar and Hamilton County, this is custom color, is that
Oh.
actually being made for the building?
No, I think that's the color, isn't it?
I don't know. Nobody's ever brought it up, so I can ask.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Hamilton Country
We
Custom
say
Color
what
and
is it,
Cedar.
not-
No,
I
that's
think
a good
that's the
point.
color.
That's a good point. If it is, but if it is a custom color, then can we just go with a non-custom,
No.
like a stock color?
Oh,
You-
right, that's-
I don't believe that's what
Okay.
it, that means.
But I'll still bring it up and just
It
ask.
says custom, that's why I was like. That one says cedar, the other one.
Well, it says Hamilton Country Custom Color and Cedar. I think those are all just the colors that you look on your. I don't know why they come up, why they can't just
We
say
will find
light gray, gray and stuff. But that's how it was when I did my deck. They had all these names.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out, but I'm
It does
pretty,
sound a little interesting, but
I don't think it's a custom color just for us. Sorry.
we're not that special.
It's true,
Special.
I guess I could be wrong.
I was making sure that was what was gonna be on the building.
Yes, it's good, that's
Yep.
that color, but if it's a custom one, we'll just go to a regular gray color.
Just cause I know during that one meeting, a lot of people didn't want the gray on the outside, so it
Yeah.
got moved more. to
One
the center.
person, not a lot of people.
Well, I also did.
Okay.
But it got moved from the outside over onto the inner wall, and that was that color is what I was asking about.
Oh.
Was that concern about the gray, like that's, it's
Okay,
like how like where it was being placed on the building.
yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed, same. All right, thank you. 8, discussion of possible action regarding goals and objectives for 2026. This is again by ordinance. You guys would let me know on what you want for goals and objectives for the 2026 budget, because next month we're already starting that.
Do you want us to tell you what our goals are, or does it?
Yes, well, we'll discuss what the ordinance says, the board does it and the village president does it, so what I do is incorporate the two.
So if I would say a 3% increase.
Yep, you could say that. Like Michael, like just an example, Michael wanted us to renegotiate the contract with, the nursing home because the interest rate was going up to 7%, so that was added and was taken, so that's what I'm looking for. Okay, I got that. Anybody else have anything?
So just the 3% is like.
So
overall
yeah, it's the
budget.
same, 3% what,
As an overall budget, as an increase.
for the tax rate, the expenses, just operating, it's like, there's a lot of.
That our net bottom line doesn't increase more than 3, the bottom line.
That leaves,
So it's with wages, benefits,
Yeah,
everything.
say that.
Yeah.
well, that leaves, I mean, if we do a COLA and if there's wages and benefits, I mean, you're gonna blow through all of that 3%, right?
Well, I haven't done all
I'm just
that.
saying that's my goal.
No,
You just keep saying yours.
I
Yeah,
know, but if that's a goal, then, you know, it's over. Yeah, you know, I mean, okay.
So what she is saying is you take the expenses that we had. And you multiply it by 3%, that gives you the amount of money in the pot to divide.
But not just for wages, it sounds like.
It's for everything.
Everything.
But when you take that 3%, you're taking 3% of everything. You're
No,
not
I
just
know.
taking wages and not just
That
benefits.
seems awfully low with interest rates going up, tariffs in place. I mean, my job is, you know, working with a bunch of hardware people whose prices are going up all over the place. But just if some general costs are going up around staff for just, you know, doing the things they need and buying the things they need. And then, you know, we also might do a COLA, also might do wage, you know, you're gonna be way over 3% real quick. I think that's way too low. Well, well, maybe way too low, so that's wrong word. I think it's unrealistic. Otherwise, I mean, we're gonna be. I mean, otherwise, no one gets like a wage increase possible or something like that.
Well, it's a goal, right? It's not locked in, so it's a goal. So anything else that people,
Do we wanna put in a target number for village hall? Like it seems reasonable that we should have a goal to not spend more than 8 million or something like that.
That should be decided before the budget though, like that'll,
yeah, we're not gonna have that. I hear what you're saying. just trying to
Well, it's
figure
just a
out.
goal. I mean-
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying,
It's just a goal.
I hear what you're saying, but when you. Again, I don't, I'm just trying to think, when you say that, you're talking about construction, overall cost of the project. Can you subtract the grants that we get, and if, you know, these other funds, so what? I'm trying to, when you
No.
say that, again, just like
That's
with
good.
Judy,
No,
what,
good discussion, sure.
yeah, when you say that, how are you defining that?
I guess, I don't know, cause you know, again, I'm just seeing, you know, tonight, the new cost getting close to 9 million. Do we know what grants we have in the wings and
Well,
what
that's-
percentage that would? or
That's gonna be.
What that would cover?
Well, the grant that we sent out will cover, I think we were close to 198, I don't remember the final number. So that was only gonna cover for this project, half of the bathroom, half of 12 parking stalls. Half the landscaping, the 2 bathrooms, the shelter and all the amenities, that's what it was gonna cover. And it had to be more than that, because
Yeah.
he put in 300,000 for the bathroom alone.
Right.
So it's gonna be over, I'm guessing it's 175, 198,000 maybe. That's what I'm thinking. The first page of it would be what half would be, yeah,
200.
200, yeah.
I don't know, it seems like if we're talking about goals and objectives for the 2026 budget. This building is like a key piece of it. If we don't have a goal attached to what it should cost, maybe we're too soon to be
Well,
defining goals.
the only thing I would say, if you're going to do that, then you should do some numbers, cause
Right.
right now, without me calculating everything, I couldn't come up. I can come up with one by the by the time I do it, I can kind of, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm saying maybe.
Give me an idea of what you're thinking, and I'll tell you if it's possible.
You don't want taxes to increase by more than this.
This for that, or- yeah, I mean, it's so,
Can we have another month to think about it? I mean, it just,
no, I need to get the memo by June, the first week of June.
sure,
But I can come up with some type of wording, and I'll try to put it in a range, how's that? Is that it? I mean, I agree with you, it's gotta be in there, I agree 100%.
and
I'm just trying to figure out how to figure it out and what would be easy for everybody to understand. There's a lot of moving pieces when you talk about total cost of a project. I can put something.
I know,
Is this something where if we come up with something later? You know, like in the next week or two, can we?
Oh, absolutely.
So I like that.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna write this memo, it's gonna get to them the first week of June. All right? That's the deadline, so if you get something to me earlier. The only thing is, not everybody gets to hear, but I mean, these are goals, right?
Right.
It's giving department heads some direction. Doesn't mean they all are gonna happen. I mean, we're not locking in, we're not voting to say this is it.
Yeah.
We're saying, here are the goals, here are the justifications.
a goal, is it? Sewage rates are going down, is it 10 or 5% this year? And then it's the opposite one.
It's going 10% July 1st and then
5%
5%.
following July 1st?
Yeah,
Okay. I think we should have a goal where. We don't. Increase at all in 2026. Water and sewage rates,
going to increase them?
correct?
Well, no, we're decreasing them.
I know, but. You know, the connections thing, you know, if we get into another conversation there, and then all of a sudden we're talking on adding like a thing onto the thing, so I don't think we should have a goal. Where we're not,
Okay, I'm missing this. We voted last year for those reduction in sewer.
those are
What
good,
we were talking about today was water, it has nothing to do with sewer, I just wanna make sure. So that, even though water and sewer are in the same bill, they're two different
let
things,
me
just like,
rephrase my goal,
okay,
we do not increase. Water or sewage rates for residents. In 2026,
okay. I can, Everybody on board with that? I mean, it's just a
Not
goal,
potentially.
huh?
Maybe
Well,
not.
well, I know, we don't know yet, that's what I'm saying, it's an unknown right now, but I'm mathematically thinking. How we would do that, and water rates you can't increase without getting public service commission permission, so I'm pretty sure we're not gonna bring everything up that way.
Sure.
That's the only way to change water rates, so I'm thinking we're pretty comfortable there. We're not gonna,
Bottom line is what residents have to pay, right? Like, and we are reducing, what they totally have to pay. Well, not total, we're helping by getting sewage costs down 10%. That's fine. I don't think we
Okay.
should.
I don't wanna say that we're gonna guarantee we're not raising water rates.
Well, these are just goals.
Well,
We're not
okay,
guaranteeing anything.
first of all,
anywhere.
there is no way, one, legally, we can't raise water rates until you go, we just heard that.
Right.
Go a year
That's what I
past
know, I
the
think
time,
we've like-
so we already did, so water rates. Are not going up. Now, I think what you're trying to get at is from our discussion earlier. About the backflow checking, right?
I mean, it could be anything. We're just.
But what I'm
talking
saying is,
about
that's not a
26
water
financial.
rate,
I
that's
think
not a water.
getting the bill, the overall
Sure.
bill. I
Yes.
think that it's just, we're getting caught up in semantics.
Yeah.
Well, but
Our
it's-
residents should not pay more for a goal anymore for water and sewage.
Okay, so if we do an ordinance that. People, when they get their meter changed, they get this checked and we charge them for meters. You're saying we can't do that anymore? That's what I'm trying to figure out what you're,
They get meter.
we are changing out meters and sometimes there's a cost that I thought when they did my meter, I had to pay something. Maybe not, but anyways, that to me is an additional cost. I'm not counting that as something we can't do in your goal.
Okay, that would be fair. So then.
Okay, all right.
Can I go back to saying not increase
User
the,
rates.
the water rate, which you had said DNR can do, not increase the sewage rate, which I understand where it's going down 10% on July 1st. And then is there like some other provision for not adding on any additional fees?
And I don't think, first of all, I'm not gonna buy into that because I don't know what's gonna happen. To say that, if all of a sudden the state comes in and says every village resident has to pay the village to have their water tested, I'm not gonna say we're gonna eat all that.
Well, but again, it's just a goal.
Just a goal.
Yeah, I understand. I'll
The
work
water
it.
utility, like, the water utility system pay for it, so we're gonna have to raise rates to pay for that. So either the people pay it directly or they pay it through their user.
Yeah, I'll word something. You just tell me if it's okay.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it right now.
Right, sure,
It takes me
yeah,
time. I gotta.
That's fine. Yeah, no, you gotta look at numbers. I get it. I don't know, just, as.
I hear where
As
you're.
the policymakers, if we come to some decision and it's like, oh, well, we could do this and it would, would impact, we should set, look at the goal and be like, oh, maybe we should look at alternatives or,
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. And like I say, we've talked about that, so. All right. Anything else from anybody?
I think it would be. It's hard because we don't have all the information, but I feel like the last couple of years, we've gotten caught up on the COLA and then the raises on top of that. And I know we've been trying to clean stuff up, but like, is there a goal we want to set now early?
With the policies, you just approved the policy last
No,
month,
I know.
so I think we'll just stick with that.
Okay, so we don't need a goal.
It's policy. All right, technically, this is
No,
for,
I'm not
okay,
giving a goal.
okay,
Um,
didn't wanna get thrown in the back spot here.
no, well, just for conversation. So last year we talked about, we know the new building will be more expensive to operate and we need to leave room on the levy, so. Is there a goal you guys wanna set for how much below the levy limit we should be?
Well, that was gonna be, I think we need 65,000. We should have 35,000 from last year.
I
I'm
guess,
thinking another 30,000 this year, because we did the estimate that the new cost of the building is gonna be 60 to 70,000.
cause to me, that's the best goal. If we say, hey, you have to be here,
Yes,
we can make all the other numbers, we've gotta figure out.
right, I agree with you
you know?
100% on
So I
that.
think that's, to me, the more important goal, is where you wanna be on the line.
Yes, I think that's important, but I also agree with Judy on how much of a tax burden too. I think we always have to keep in mind, because I've heard almost everybody here at the forums talk about watching out for taxpayers, so we gotta have that as part of the discussion. But yes, that one I can do, I just can't do it now until I get the numbers.
But good one.
Yep,
But that'll be in your,
yes.
the goals and objectives you bring next meeting.
Well, no,
Oh,
it'll probably come out before our next meeting. Our next meeting's not till the end of June. Well, I guess we're having, well, to see, I'm not sure what the June 2nd meeting is. I could probably if we have one,
Mhm.
we could probably bring it back then, but boy, it's a lot of pressure.
June 2nd. Yeah.
Cause it takes a lot, I mean, there's a lot of calculations that go on in this.
I felt bad last year because I think you asked us and then I wasn't quite sure or prepared, and then all of a sudden there was something and so I'm trying to be more.
No, I appreciate it.
Reduce.
No, I appreciate it.
Ahead of time.
It's just that I don't start it until I hear from you guys, and now I'll go in and I'll just pump out a ton of numbers and guesses and try to come up with what, and that was already on my list. The levy limit is clearly an important one. And then again, we've really got to look at how we're gonna, like you said, pay for the building. And I think, you know, a number is probably
Mhm.
something we need to do, but, you know, to come up with that, you know, what is your definition of affordable? You know?
Yeah.
That's the key, right? It's not really how much the building costs, it's how much is affordable for us.
I feel like that shouldn't just be like a me thing, right? That should be like, the board should have a number or a line in the sand that we have, and I don't think we do right
Well, to have a line in the sand, you have to have all the numbers, or you're just
now.
making something up.
And we have to have the goals and objectives before we can have the numbers.
Right,
So
But,
yeah,
I don't know how to reconcile that.
but
Well-
is that including debt and interest
Yes.
on the debt and all that? Cause that's gonna vary and change.
absolutely, you're absolutely, all of that has to be, when you look at that, that's all has to be factored in.
Exactly.
And if you remember, 2 years ago, you got a sheet that I did that tracked all of that stuff and showed at different amounts, how much it would be. And that, so that's, you know, a lot of that's done, you know, in the sense of knowing, but now it's what's affordable. Cameron?
I might be opening another can of worms here. But I recall us talking about, when we purchased the squad cars, how, you know, not allotting money ahead of time was fine when interest rates are really low, because, you know, you just borrow when you need it and everything's fine, but now interest rates are going up. Or at least
They're stable.
they're a
Yeah.
little, I guess, stable-ish now, but I guess. Are they getting high enough where we wanna start thinking about saving annually for things that, you know, we know need to be replaced, like squad cars and parks and all of these other things that have come up over the years?
Well-
I thought we already had a fund for that,
No,
our capital fund, right?
no, we keep 50 grand in there for over things.
Yeah, but we don't like,
It's
carve out 5 a year or something for squad car replacements, or 10 a year, you know, that kind of thing.
We have not done that.
I know,
And there's one, because of the levy limit, that, you know, obviously goes against
yep.
the levy limit, you don't have that cash, but there's also. And I kind of believe in this, government pretty much runs on user fees, so why should someone be paying for a squad car now? And 5 years from now, someone gets the squad car who's moved in here and didn't have to pay anything for it.
Well,
So-
you save the interest rate then, right? I mean, then you just pay cash
Well,
for the car.
Are you that confident that interest rates are gonna be going up or down?
No, but.
That's the problem. If you
Right.
knew that, then I would agree with you 100%. If you could say, hey, Jay, I'm telling you, interest rates are going up to 9%. We better start, you know, that would be one thing, but we do this and all of a sudden the interest rates go down to 2% or
Well,
3%.
I think we can say 5 years ago, you know, maybe there was not a very, things were more stable than they are right now at this very.
Well, I agree with, I'm just saying, it's a guesswork.
I know.
So most government works on whoever's in the village paying taxes, that's who pays for the item because they're receiving the service or the use of that.
I don't know, just going back to your example about the trailer and what, you know, people do at their homes, right? People don't do that in their homes generally, right? You know, they're saving for that car or whatever, so then they can at least have a down payment. So
Hey.
you know.
You're preaching, you're right, you're preaching.
Well, see, we just can't have it both ways, you know, in some instances, we need to act like. the
I would have
In some
loved-
instances, we
Well,
can't.
that's right. So you gotta look at it. I would have loved we knew this village hall was coming 4 years ago. I would have loved to have squirreled away. Now, what we did do, which is kind of like that, is we bought the lot. Then the next year we paid for the architect, you know, so we have, you think about it, we've probably already got $1 million invested in this project that's already out there. So we kind of have done that, you know,
But we talked about this a couple of years ago, several years ago, whatever it was. Where we decided as a group back then, we didn't wanna put money into an account. And then that, like you said, that would raise the levy limit, you know, just for having money sitting there with. Maybe getting zero or very little interest, whatever the case might be. I understand what you're saying, I agree with it. But I think things are gonna be so tight this year, it may not be practical.
Judy.
And years ago, when it was Mark Weeby, Mike Grasser, and all of us were on the finance, we did do it that way. We did start squirreling away. But we were only earning 0.25%, so that was just dumb. So you're right, that's what we changed it. So at one point in time, we did do that.
Oh, yeah.
Years and years ago, we did
Oh,
do that.
absolutely.
We did it the way you're thinking, but then we changed it because of that.
And I understand the math of just letting it sit in a savings account and getting 0.25% on it or whatever is not very useful, but then. The contrary is now you pay 7-8% on, you know, the interest rate, so you
Or
save.
two,
Well, okay,
you don't know.
Sure. And the fire district and EM district used to do that too, squirrel one, and they've gotten away from it because. It's just.
I think it made a lot of sense 5 years ago, I'm be growing less and less confident that it makes more sense now with the volatility and stuff we're seeing.
Agreed.
But
I'm
I
not gonna
also
argue.
understand
It's
we're,
definitely
we got 35 on our levy limit, so that doesn't leave a lot of room to start saving some.
All right, anything else? All right,
Sarah, did you have something?
No.
Okay.
we'll go to number 9. Discussion and possible action regarding 2025 summer hours for village staff.
It's
Harley.
me. All right, so I kind of briefly introduced this at the last board meeting. But this was just brought up at our April department head meeting as a way to help with recruitment and retention and just to show that we value our employees, to give them a little bit of time off on Fridays during the summer. So basically, what the suggestion is to implement summer hours beginning Memorial Day through Labor Day. So that would just be, you know, a trial period. So it would be the Tuesday after Memorial Day to Labor Day. And so regular hours would then resume on September 2nd. And then after that, we could, you know, reconvene and see if it works. I did do some polling of other communities nearby. So Mazo, Black Earth, and Mount Horeb all close at noon on Fridays year round. And then Wanakee closes at 12:30 year round. And being open earlier would also offer the opportunity for residents to come in before the workday. So if we opened at 7 o'clock instead of 7:30, people could conduct some village business before going to work. And then offices, would still be open 40 hours a week. So it would be, the proposition is 7 AM to 4 PM, Monday through Thursday. So those are 9-hour days for staff. And then Friday would be 7 AM to 11 AM. And our current hours today are 7:30 to 4 o'clock, Monday through Friday. This wouldn't, be, obviously feasible for all departments, like police department couldn't benefit from this except for the admin assistant, downstairs. But then people here at Village Hall, would be able to benefit from it, and then, public facilities staff as well. Would not be mandatory, up to department heads, to determine, whether it works. Or if there's, something else that would work better for their staff. I would work with them, to make that, possible. We also did some counting, to the last couple of Fridays. We just wanted to see who did come in our doors. So we kind of, Bobby helped differentiate, some of the reasons why people stopped in. So like from Friday, on Friday, May 2nd, from 11 to 4, we had 6 visitors, it looks like 5 visitors. And it looks like 2 of those were payments that could have been made in the box outside. During that time, one it looks like was to pick up a garage sale sign, which we're done with that now. Looking for the police department, municipal court question. And then the following Friday, they had 5 people come in to drop off payments. So again, those could happen outside. And then returning some garage sale signs. And somebody stopped in to say hi and socialize their dog. So things like that. And then I also asked the police department to keep track as well to see who was coming in. And so on Friday the 2nd, they had 2 folks drop in. And then on Friday the 9th, they had 1 person drop in between the hours of 11 and 4. So those would be the hours that we would be potentially closed. So that's what the proposition would be. It'd be a trial period. And you could determine if it's something you'd like to implement full time.
Go ahead, Judy.
I'm not totally against it, but I do feel like we're in customer service. I'm wondering if there's any way you could rotate it, like still, like stay open till 4, but only with 1 staff member. Can you do that? Like you rotate, so you work every 4th week?
I think it might be challenging because we generally Village Hall, okay, there's 6, like we don't count Parks and Rec because they're in and out. We don't like count Carly because she is always, in meetings so it's really myself, Becky and Renee that we depend on to cover Village Hall traffic and answer phones. Renee being a long employee has a lot of vacation and she takes a lot of time off, mostly Fridays or Friday afternoons. So then you're left with, it's just Becky and I. And so I think for 2 of us, kind of Renee too, kind of rotate, I think in the summer with vacations and stuff.
Okay, myself and then Cameron, I support this. The only thing that I request that it's not mandatory. Cause 9-hour days, that's great, but not everybody can do it, but or want to do it if maybe they have health reasons or they have daycare. That could be extra cost and not workable and extra stressor. So I don't have a problem if it's voluntary. And again, what are the dates again? You were going until how far? Labor Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah, I can support that. Cameron?
The first thing was just on the afternoons off. I think that's part of the benefit, like, if you have to, you want the afternoon off so you can go to the park or the pool with your kids or whatever, and if you have to shuffle that around, you're getting less of the afternoon off benefit. So I think it would make the most sense to stick with that hours instead of trying to stay open the whole time and have to rotate someone in and out. And then I agree completely with Jay. I do know some people who also would not want to work the 9-hour days. They would rather work 5/8. So as long as people had that option, I'm good even with the hours staying the same. So if someone wanted to work 5/8, but we still close at 11 on Fridays and that person may be in Village Hall and doing normal
But
work.
they lock themselves in.
Right, yeah, I think that's all good, as long as it's optional.
Bill?
I totally agree with Ken. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay. Anybody? All right, well, let's let's have a motion then.
I will, gosh, it's gonna be a hard motion.
Here you go. You can say
Well,
trial period for summer hours. for
sure,
these
yeah,
dates.
I was gonna detail everything, but I think that's better. Yeah, I'll make a motion to, try a trial period of summer hours for village hall and staff from May 27th, 2025 to, September 1st, 2025.
Okay, can I just ask, why is it a trial?
Let's
Aren't
try
we
it.
doing it?
Well,
No,
we're-
not for the,
Not
Oh,
forever.
they want
I think-
I think they're gonna come to us on September 2nd and say, oh, we're doing great, let's figure it out.
Yeah, so we don't want to make you commit to these hours year round.
Right.
So we're just
Right.
saying,
No, I
here,
was
try the
just
summer
saying
hours.
that we're going to summer hours from this date to this date, yes or no?
Right.
But that's, I didn't know it was a
Okay.
trial, usually I would have thought a trial would have been like 3 weeks to see how it worked.
Oh.
And
The
then,
trial is this summer, and then I think
Right.
what Carly had said at the top, we'll talk again in September, November, December, or whatever. and
Because if
see
people
how-
start getting used to it,
Well,
if people are used to the new.
that's
hours,
not,
Then,
it's kind of misleading, because I think. I mean, I'm not gonna change my vote, but I
Sure.
am for summer hours, but. When we go back, in the fall, then I think we gotta go back to regular hours, like, and I'm pretty sure all these villages do the same thing, don't they? Aren't
Oh,
these?
No.
some of them are year-round.
they're all year round.
Yeah,
Really?
I will say, to be honest, I was talking with people and a lot of us, like, who have jobs during the day, we can't leave them. We were kind of like, oh, it'd be great if they were open at 7
Yeah,
around. So I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
something.
alright, well, we got the motion, do I have a
Well,
second?
why I haven't seconded, you want me to, I can.
No, you're fine, it's a trial then, you're right, I misunderstood.
Sorry.
What was going on here, alright,
All right, I'll second it.
alright. Alright, any other discussion? I'm not sure why we call it summer hours then, if you're looking to go year round with it. It would have been just a trial between
Let's
these two.
focus on this.
Alright, roll call vote, just in case.
Trustee Brochus,
Yes,
trustee Borcar,
Yes.
trustee Kettlemaker,
No,
trustee Borcar,
Yes,
trustee Paul
Yes.
or President Ling.
Yes. Alright, number 10, discussion and possible action regarding chapter 87 sign ordinance revision. Now, remember, we talked about this, I'm hoping we're not going through the whole thing again. Carly and I need some direction. Let's start with number 1. And this would be the amount of space that signs can be in. So the option, hang on, Bill.
well,
number 1 is
because I
building.
want to do something before we get to number 1. I just got a question for you about the ordinance itself, before you go into the
Okay.
changes. So in the top of the signage regulation in 8701, it says, the adoption of this chapter reflects the formal finding of fact by the Village of Cross Plains Planning Commission and the Village Board. This hasn't been brought to the planning committee, has it?
The plan commission?
Yeah,
This ordinance has been brought to the plan commission at least 4 times since I've been president.
the changes that we're talking about tonight.
No, well, it came from plan to start with and then the appeal. That's what, you were there. It was,
I don't think it came to plan because it went directly, I
Oh,
denied it and it came here.
Denied it and then it went to appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would go to plan, it will go to plan, but plan has always looked at this.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we were within those limits.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm trying to do is just finish this thing off, because part of the appeal for cultures was we honored their appeal for some of it. And then others, we said, we will discuss it and try to change the ordinance. Because that was what the board did. So I want the board to do this. And then when we do the changes, we'll kick it to plan and then back to board.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the big issues is that we're trying to decide is currently, and the reason I'm doing this first is this affects all the other affects a lot of the others depending on what people say, decide here. Currently, we have it for 1 linear foot, you can have 1 square foot. Right, that's how the sign thing is.
Mhm.
Now, we can keep it that way, now we brought in, I think it was, Mazel that goes to 2 square feet per linear side, so that would be twice our side. Black Earth has a straight, you can have 500 square feet. You know, whatever, as many signs as you want, but that's it. Now, if you read our window ordinance for the window signs, it can be a percentage, 30% of the window. If you look at the awning side, it has some percentage too on how big it could be on the awning. So we need, I really need where people are coming from on this issue, because otherwise we're just gonna waste a whole lot of time doing the others, because it's not gonna be applicable. So, since this came on appeal and we told the business people that we're gonna look at it, it's time for us to at least give your ideas, so Carly and I can actually come up with something in this zoning. So let's start with that, there's about 3 items that we have to discuss. Cameron,
Would have all of. Shoot. The one Kelcher sign. I don't remember which building it was on, but it was too big, but it like really didn't look too big. I guess I'm leaning toward the doubling our feet per linear feet of frontage.
and then keeping the 2 signs per business.
With the exception that's already listed in here about we carved out that piece about the like, vendor signs.
Mhm.
That's probably fine.
All right, so I'm hearing 1 to increase the lineal, formula. Anybody, oh, I'm gonna just go around, yeah,
Yeah.
Sarah, what's your thoughts?
I always have to start.
No, Cameron
I said
started.
No, I know, but when you decide to go around. I was thinking, can you give those 3 examples again?
Well, it can be a formula,
No, I mean, like you were saying Mazo.
okay, Mazel does, 2 lineal, 2 square feet for each lineal foot of wall.
Right, so there's this double R's.
Which is,
Yeah, it's double ours. Black Earth just straight 500 square feet.
Oh, I don't like that.
And then we have part of our ordinance for like windows and thing, have a
Right.
percentage.
So Jay's saying we don't have an example, I think, but we could do percentage of
Yeah.
the building face or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be another, be consistent with our windows.
I guess. The percentage be easier then?
Would probably be easier.
I guess I prefer, I don't like the flat rate, but,
The edge cases I can think of is if you said like 50% of building face, does that mean you get 50% building, like on all 4 sides of your building, you can have a sign that's 50%, do you want that? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, no, that would be what it would be, yeah, because that's, if you're
Right.
following the same thing, that's what.
So it would just be something we have to think about, I'm not opposed to it, I'm just. I know, there's a litany of those
If we did a
things.
percent for the building, then it would be a percent for the window and. Like, at least it simplifies it a bit.
So you're looking at percentage?
Yeah, I know,
We don't wanna write this up and then have the
Yeah,
same
I-
debate again, and this is our 3rd time discussing it,
So
so.
what percentage are you?
I know, that's the
Yeah, that's the
problem.
tough part, isn't it?
Well,
That's why
I don't
I-
care about that, but your let's not worry about the number that way, we'll just, we can do some research on that.
Okay,
So,
I guess my preference would be percentage.
percentage, okay. Bill,
So I got a question on that, Sarah. So with the percentage, are you limiting how many signs can be on a building wall or just flat
Oh,
percentage?
no, I think then still stick to the 2 signs. And with the. What do we call that? I still think limit the number of signs. That can only take up a certain percentage,
On a building wall?
yeah. Because I think that it's very busy too, if there's lots of different signs. So I do think there's some benefit to the limiting the number of signs.
And I'm good with that, I agree with that, the only thing I'm trying to come to terms with is, I can't picture this, I can't picture what 2 linear feet or 2 square feet per linear foot means on the building. Or what 500 square feet means on the building, and I haven't been able to go out
Well-
and over Black Earth.
Well, no, but if you looked at, I mean, we've had a number of them, they're 60 feet linear foot, right? Of the wall to the side of the building is 60 linear feet. So that means you can have 60 square feet of sign.
Today,
So like, yeah, so it can be 2 feet by 30 feet. It can be 5 feet by 12 feet. I mean, it's similar to the percentage.
Like, you're wondering about that, like I used the Jack and Tabby's example the last time we were talking about that, on the front of the building facing Main Street, I think they were close to 60 feet long, that sign up there is its max size, that is at 60 feet. They can't make it any bigger, we actually had to have them make the words smaller, they actually wanted them bigger, when Brian and I were going through that. Those words had to be brought down in size a little bit, they had to get a little, not as wide, like it just had to come down. I'm gonna start talking an idea, and this wasn't brought to me, it was brought to me by somebody else, but the 500 square feet in Black Earth might very well be because of the shoebox. They have signs all over that building, and it just might have been, you get 500 square feet, and it's just easier, because we don't wanna mess with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an idea.
It certainly simplifies things.
Right.
Anybody can come in and then they have a lot of variety on what to do with their sign.
Well, they get a lot of signs.
Yeah, they do.
Because they don't have a number cap on
Yeah, right. Yeah.
so with Sarah's thought, would that satisfy Kelchers?
No,
No.
no. Well, it won't because she's keeping the numbers in. See, they have the one building that has their name and then 3 of the companies that they sell their products.
But wasn't that included in the exception or
Well,
something?
yeah, I'm going on what our ordinance is right now.
it. See, it doesn't, yeah, it depends on if we're trying to fit that exception that we make for them into the ordinance.
Oh, see, I thought that's what we were saying, is that if a business has a special, yeah, that would be included.
Well, we'll have that's a different discussion because,
Well, maybe it would be easier to have that one first. Well, just because we're talking about percentages and then how many signs you get, like, it would maybe be easier to clear out if we have the vendor signs or not.
yeah, but that's not why you should be looking at, what you should be looking at is, what does the building look like? Do you want a building that's totally covered with one big sign? You know, it doesn't really matter how many signs, how much of the building do you want covered with signs? So that's number 1, and then number 2, do we want to maintain this? And then do we want to have an exception for the 2 sign one? So that's how it should lay out. The 2 sign or 4 sign shouldn't really affect how we want to calculate the space that a sign takes. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We just are looking at what do you feel is the level of the sign? So right now, we're at 1 to 1.
So the, I think it's on the east wall of Kelcher, there's the big billboard that Park Bank uses for advertising.
Oh, that's totally different.
I understand, but I'm saying in relative to size of the building, if you can look at that and see, I don't know what size that sign is.
I don't have.
Right, but
Billboard
I mean,
size.
is that, because that's what you're talking about, do you want to have one big sign on the side of the
No.
wall, and that's what that is over there.
No, what I'm trying, this whole thing on getting a formula, you shouldn't be looking at the number of signs or anything right now. When you look at a business, how much of that front of that business should be covered with sign? That's all we're asking for right now. And it really, we can decide later if it's 1, or it's 2, or it's 3, or it's 4, whatever. Well, right now I'm looking at like the windows. We don't care if it's 1 sign or 4 signs. It can't be, it can only cover 30% of the window.
Okay, so,
So that's what I'm trying to say. We gotta get a starting point.
okay, so I will say 2 times the 2 square foot per linear foot.
Okay, thank
Which
you.
is what Mazo is, right?
That's what Mason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would agree.
Okay, and that's Cameron too, okay. Michael?
I don't know, I think I would get it too, except it's a little high for me. Yeah, I do, I wouldn't check, look like Middleton's is 1 square foot for 1 linear foot of building, there's the same as what ours is, our ordinance is fairly similar to theirs. To be honest, I went that way and kind of looked rather than west. So yeah, I'm not sure I really like the 2 square feet, I'll be honest.
No, we want honesty, I mean, we
Mhm.
we don't wanna spend the time writing this up and then getting it. You know, voted down
Right.
here, we're just trying to get it, so, okay.
So possible exceptions with that, see, we're talking about frontage also, see, right now our ordinance is written for building frontage. Certain ordinances allow for a lot frontage, so you get into 2 different things, I mean, a lot frontage gets longer. Than a building does, and it causes them to get bigger, but if you go to a lot and you double it, you can put a lot of signage on the building. What happens if you have an excessively long lot, which is why I think a lot of these things are written for building frontage, because you're trying to keep it as a ratio of how big the building is, which is like your percentage of building.
And that's what they're talking about, 2 to 1 would be,
No, but I think Michael's just saying.
But what if you have a small building and a giant lot?
If you read Mazos, it does say.
well, but we're not
Okay.
working on mazes for crying out loud, man, I
No,
can't deal with-
I think that's the only, he's.
Right, but that's
I'm
not-
talking about. lots.
Ours isn't like that, ours is not like that, and first of all, and even so, we don't have any big lots in Cross Plains.
Right, I understand that, but it just affects the.
St. Francis, like it just.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna see that, alright, good, alright. And I just wanna jump to a different one, it sounds like everybody is in agreement, well. There seems like there's a lot of interest in making an exception on the number of signs. If they can prove that there's an agreement with their contract that they gotta have a brand sign. Whatever. Are we,
Vic?
and are we gonna limit that?
No, and then if they have to, if like
Well-
Toro says they have to, or whoever says they have to.
I can tell you, there's a lot of places in this country that have, I don't care what they say, you're not doing it. I mean, ours overruns that, so, you know, they can, I think we still have to have somewhat of a limit. I mean, otherwise, you're exempting from everybody, and everybody's gonna want it, the grocery store is gonna have a zillion Coke, Pepsi, whatever,
We're
whatever.
gonna have them show us that they have to have it.
Okay.
Like,
I'm
Bill
pretty-
Triplman came and said, we have to have it.
I would like to see that contract.
Right.
I think
We
what
can
it
ask
is they want that to happen,
No, I
and they'll
think it
check,
is.
but I don't think they're gonna pull. Their retail out there, if there's an ordinance that says you can't do it,
Mhm.
you know. Oh, they would be limited in, I mean, you
I
go,
know Wanakee, like Kelly's husband just bought Toro, and they had to get a Toro sign up. But, so he can sell Toro. He has to.
well, you
have a
can
sign.
put it in the window. It doesn't meet it, I mean, what
If-
I'm saying is
if sign- yeah.
there's ways of meeting requirements without putting a sign on your building. All right, so is anybody opposed to that? And so we can write,
No, I think we can, I'm in favor of an exception for the vendor signs.
okay,
I'm okay with putting a limit on it. I do think the limit should be generous, just so we're
Yeah.
not, I mean, the second we put in a limit of 2, or you know, or the next person, we're gonna have to be doing the same song and dance with the culture. So I would say it should be 10.
and
It's a lot, but I just.
you want 10 signs on a building?
I just don't think it's likely someone's gonna get up to 10 and, you know,
Well,
the second we say 5, you know, all of a sudden we're gonna get, you know, one.
they're gonna have to make a choice, I'm not going, I can't support it.
Should be some, I feel like, again, I mean, like Middleton and these other cities, I'm sure they have limits and then. They're still gonna sell their product there.
Yeah.
You can
I-
also, if you want to, I think I saw it in Middleton's, that you can incorporate that sign square footage into the maximum square footage.
Right.
Like you don't have to put a number on it.
Yeah, that's gonna.
That's actually Sarah's percentage is,
Yeah.
so
That
to
could work.
me, that's the way to go too, but I can go either way, but yes, that's what you. that would be much more.
I'm just worried that's gonna make it complicated for the businesses, then you're doing the calculus of the sign I want plus my vendor signs, is that equaling the amount, like, I don't know, just.
Well,
Doing business.
Well, they have to
Yeah.
submit the application and I have to review it, so I wouldn't approve it unless it met the
Right.
confines of
Can
the.
you imagine where Cultures has 4 signs, you would have 10 on that building?
I don't think it's likely, and, you know, usually the vendor signs are pretty small. I don't, so I was being overly generous, just
Yeah,
because of being nicer to businesses and being a little easier to use, but I.
Mazo has 3, I believe.
3,
Mhm.
that seems too low.
I just,
What's Wanacue and Middleton, do you know?
most of them don't have it.
Most of them don't have this.
Yeah, I kind of,
That's the, Mazo was the only place I found it.
So what are they, like, Kelly's husband?
Where did I find this? Was this one a key?
Well, I didn't check Wanakees.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm just telling you, the ones that, Mazo was the only one that had it where they had an exception to the signs. Where they could add signs, and I forgot the term that they use, it's kind of a cute thing. They don't call it vendor signs, they call it something else. But we can check in that, but everybody's comfortable with doing something with that, right? I don't mind bringing this back, and if we wanna bicker over 4 or 6, that's fine.
Sure.
But as long as we know that we're not gonna have a big discussion, yes or no on it, all right?
Cultures had, is it 3?
They have their main one, and then they have 3 others.
I forget about man, but how many vendors? It was 3 vendors.
3 vendors.
Okay, yeah, so 3, 5. Gives them a little more room to put a couple more if they need to, and,
It
anyway.
would be 5 total.
Well, I was thinking, we say, we have this little carve out for the vendor sign. That would, you know, get 5, and then you don't have to then mix it in with how, you know, your other signs and how big they are, and. Like, we put in rules for your main signs, and then if you got these vendor signs, great, they follow these little rules.
Yeah, I don't mind having a vendor, but they're gonna be rules, we're not gonna,
Yeah,
cause I would,
that's fine, limits.
All right.
I'm good.
all right, now I forgot, what was the third one? Jumped out of order.
Business building,
No, we were just gonna.
Anything about non-conforming signs?
Oh, yeah, that's it. So remember, non-conforming, to me, it made sense that if a sign was non-conforming and they wanted to replace it, but it became closer to. You know, a legal sign, we should allow that. Right now, it's a strict. You gotta put exactly the same thing up, or you gotta make it conforming. So I was all for that, but Sonia did bring up, a valid point that I had not thought of. She says a lot of times. If you wanna get rid of a certain type of sign, you don't want that, because when they change, then they'll get to the sign that you want. And her example was, and you can see it, there's fewer and fewer of what we call pylon sign, the real tall 2-1. So her example is, yeah, they wanna replace that, they're gonna just keep it on pylon, even though it might be, the sign itself might be smaller.
Mhm.
So I think that's totally a legitimate, argument. The only thing is, so then I went around Cross Plains and said, do we have any signs that?
don't go for crossing.
Yeah, I know, you know, are there ones that are really that bad that we'd want to make them redo the whole sign? So I'm still in favor of, if a sign becomes more conforming, let it go. That would be mine, but what is?
I'm not sure I agree with that. That's a reason to bring things into compliance and why you have your ordinance. If you go in and you want to make a change to it, depending on how major it is, then generally it's time to update it and bring it into compliance.
Cameron?
I like if it's becoming more conforming, you don't need to jump through the hoops again, but. I don't know if more conforming would stand in court. Not sure what language you would use there.
I think that's kind of how it is. I mean, you're just flipping what they're saying.
Somebody's example is good, and
Yeah.
if we can prevent that, that's great, but like, I just don't want, like, Culture has a sign that got a little smaller, but.
Right.
basically the same, if not better, and then we were like, oh, reapproval because it's smaller, which.
No, that's exactly where I'm coming from, Bill.
I agree with Michael.
Yeah, I agree with that also.
So you would have, with Kelchers, you wouldn't have allowed that sign, even though it was 6 inches smaller.
That's the problem is that. In that situation, okay, but there's gonna be all these other situations that come up. That I think people might start working the system then to say. "Oh, this part is more conforming, I feel like it becomes subjective then.
How does it come?
I don't know, like, could they
The
do
sign,
something that's
the
like-
definition of the sign and the size all stays the same.
Right,
So it's really like in Kelchers, their current sign, I'm just gonna make it up, was. The original one's 20 feet, now it's 19
yes,
feet,
yeah.
6 inches. And it makes it 6 inches now, you know.
I know, and I liked it in that situation, but I also agree that.
But that's hard for the zoning person to say, okay, this one, that makes it very subjective.
Oh, but I thought then she's just following the policy, she's.
Well, she is, but if you
Right,
say,
it
well,
doesn't-
this
she
case
has
you can
to-
do it, this case you can't
I
do it.
know,
Who makes that call on
oh,
what case it
well,
falls
she would
under?
deny it, right, because it's not following.
Well, not if we had it, if the rule was where if it's becoming more conforming, then she could approve it.
So what if there's a pylon sign and they decide to lower the height by 2 feet and put up a different sign? Did it become more conforming because it got shorter?
No.
They shouldn't be see, but that's like what we're saying, like.
Or what if it's a really terribly looking sign? Like, what if like the coloring, if it's just like. But it's the same size, so it's fine. Right?
Yeah, that's how it is
Okay.
right now. You can replace exactly what you have. The what came with Kelchers is, see,
Because the
I
size
don't think
changed.
we should have denied that. I
Right.
think the sign was just 6 inches smaller than what it is. And the rule, it made it more
But it would
conforming,
still
so
need
I
the
would have been
conforming.
okay, and we said it was okay.
Right.
You know, I think we all voted, you know,
Mhm.
so my point is, if we all voted on that, why wouldn't we make it?
Yeah.
Part of the ordinance, or we just,
Mhm.
yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Judy?
I agree with you.
Okay, Cameron,
I agree with you, but for some reason, if we don't have language in that says like if it's gonna be more conforming, you don't need approval. I mean, I think
well,
I think what I'm hearing then is basically the only way we're gonna protect ourselves here is make sure that like as we update the sign ordinance and that people are conforming. I mean, then we should say every time you're replacing a sign, you need to come back and.
why?
Well, because otherwise, then you have the hole that we
Well,
have
we do
today.
that anyway,
You need that.
yeah,
Anytime a sign is changed at all.
yeah, it goes to
Yeah.
her. It doesn't have to come to the board, we're
No,
the
no,
appeal
I
process.
know it doesn't come to us, but if you were to, well, if you were to change a sign. A non-conforming sign and make it the same size than today's wording.
You
Is
still,
that-
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah,
Like if
everything,
somebody buys Weavers and they leave that up and they put in Joe's Crab Shack, it's supposed to be re-permitted.
yeah.
But if you don't,
Sure.
but you leave the box the same thing, it has.
And
to-
how about this,
But
what if we define things a little bit more? We can do that, doesn't have to say all non-conforming parts of it, we could do, let's take a look and see maybe size and. I don't know,
That would make it more clear,
okay,
I would feel better about it then.
If there's
Alright.
specific things that you can.
yeah, yeah,
Like if you're making your sign smaller, like the size, I would agree, I think size was a big.
yeah, okay. All right, I think, that's all we really needed, right?
I think so.
All right, we'll try to get, not by the next meeting, I'm just got way too much to do. We'll try to get it at the July or August meeting, we'll try to bring it back with actual changes, so. We can go through it, does that seem reasonable?
Yeah. For sure.
All right, last one. Discussion and possible action regarding a special village board meeting on June 2nd at 6 p.m. I have no idea, what's this?
Yeah,
for?
so this is for, so for the park or for the Lions shelter. So this is the bidding for the shelter for the construction of the pavilion. Will close on May 29th. So basically what this meeting will be is to review the bids, and a quorum is just needed to review the submissions. So yes, there's planning that night. So I talked to Mike and he thought a half hour would be sufficient to have that before, because several of you will already be here for plan. So we would start it at 6,
So.
And then have a
he
6:30.
wants Is.
special meeting.
approval- Yeah, but I understand it's a special meeting to approve the bids that come in. But it's my understanding we're not even gonna have the shelter for until like the end of July or something. Did I miss?
This is for the
I
construction
know, but
bid.
there's no
just a
reason to
bid.
have construction people build something that we don't have yet. I'm just wondering if
yeah.
we need to have that done, or can it wait to the end of June?
This
That's- I'm
is the
just-
way the Lions have set it up. So they have it closing on Thursday, May 29th at 2
Yes, I
o'clock.
understand it's closing.
Yeah.
And we can look at the bids and say, this is the lowest bid,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And we can notify the company, hey, here's the lowest bid, and then you bring it to the June one, they're not gonna start right away. I'm just wondering why, within 3 days, do we have to approve the bid if we're not even gonna get the material to do anything until another month or two?
But I think we
That's
need
fair.
to approve it so they know they can move ahead, right? Don't
Yeah.
They need us to
No.
approve it so they can for sure get that bid? Cause
Yeah,
are
but
there
it's-
more than one bids?
Well, they're
No.
hoping so. They're hoping there'll be more than one.
No, I understand, but the bid is only for construction of it. We're
Right.
buying the actual
Yeah, right.
parts
Right,
from another company.
right.
So if that's not here until July,
I think, so they sleep better at night, they wanna make sure everything's approved properly.
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna be there anyway.
Well, I'm. Right, I know.
So it's, but what I'm worried about, it is, you know, the last week of school and stuff, but if everybody can make it, I'm fine. I mean, like I say, I'm gonna be there anyway, so it's not a problem. I'm just trying to figure out why it's an emergency.
Wasn't that documented though in the bid that went out saying that on June 2nd or 3rd, we're going to,
Usually you don't put that in a bid.
I thought I read that in.
Oh, that would be, you have something on this, Matt?
The only thing I could say is, they could probably start moving on the construction of the concrete and give them the cure time, that could take extra time, so it's ready to put up when.
But don't you need the posts before you lay the concrete?
I don't know how it's all constructed exactly, but,
I think they gotta pound those things into the ground and
well,
concrete.
they could maybe do their footing, I don't know if it's a footing or a flat slab, a floating slab. But.
I think the steel
but then-
beams have to go down so far.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you do the concrete and drill holes, I would think you would put the post, I'm not a construction person, but I would think you'd put the posts
That's
in.
the only thing I would say was,
Yeah,
the concrete is 2 weeks cure time, so.
But
yes.
I'll talk to Mike tomorrow and then I'll send an email to you all so you know.
Like I said.
What the reasoning is for the
everybody's okay with
timing.
it, I'm not,
Yeah, but just so you understand the timing and why it's the way it is, because I obviously don't know why.
Could we do it by email? But we don't need to
No.
vote to have a special meeting, do we?
it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a roll, it's a contract.
No, I'm sorry.
You could do
You can
virtual.
Schedule the June meeting is what I'm saying. We don't need to take action right now. Or do,
Well, we gotta make sure we have a quorum, yes. I wanna make sure everybody's here. If we don't need to, then yes, we won't,
okay,
you'll get notice of it.
I don't know if I can make it, but.
Okay.
I'll see what I need.
I can
Okay.
make it.
Okay,
Well,
So
you're
we
on
have four.
plan and you're on plan and I'm on plan, so it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
these other four, yeah.
Cody.
Yeah, he's gonna have a ball game or something.
okay.
All right, any future agenda items? All right, motion to adjourn.
So.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
All opposed, same. So move.